Stories number 1. Aita for prioritizing my children's relationship over my wife's preference. I have one son with my ex-wife and 3 kids with my current wife. My oldest is 19. The other kids are 13, 12, and 6. All boys, except for the 12-year-old. My oldest traveled overseas during summer break, but there was a 2-week period where he was at school but had no class and no commitments, and he wanted us to come visit him. I said that we would go, and when I told my wife she was annoyed I committed without asking her. I said we didn't have plans. She said I couldn't know that for sure without asking her. I said if there are plans I don't know about, surely that means she made a commitment without asking me. That argument fizzled out. However, she later informed me we're invited to go on a trip with some friends that would overlap, and she wanted to go on the trip. I said we already had plans. She said she never agreed to the plans, and the argument resumed. Eventually, I said she could do whatever she wanted, but the kids and I were going to fly out to visit my son. I said it's important for them to spend time together, so they continue to have a good relationship now that he's an adult, and we probably won't see him as much. She said, I know she hates California where his school is, and it's insensitive for me to just assume she's okay with going. I told her if she doesn't want to go, don't go, I'll go alone with the kids. She didn't want that, and the fight got intense, so I said we should ask the kids what they want to do. When we asked the kids, she really talked up her vacation plan and poo-pooed going to California, but the kids wanted to see their brother. She still didn't want me to take them after that, and we continued to argue about it right up until the kids and I left. We had a great trip. Ever since we returned from the trip, she has been frosty towards me. Last week, she dropped the bombshell of wanting to do couples counseling. I agreed, and we just found someone and made an appointment for September. All my friends say the counseling is a bad sign, the divorced and married alike. I guess I just want to know what I'm in for. Am I going to go in and immediately get roasted for my actions? Ultimately, I love my wife and I love my kids, and I want my kids to have a good relationship with each other. Is that so bad? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I think you made the right decision. Your children come first, always. Your wife has to learn she can't throw a hissy fit and get her own way all the time. Counseling is a good idea. If you get a good counselor, they will explain this to her. If you're not getting with the counselor, try a different one. You both have to feel comfortable and heard by this person. Best of luck. Reply. This person is supposed to be really good. They have a lot of great reviews. Not all the reviews were actually encouraging, but they were all positive. As many people wrote, Dr. X helped me and my spouse realize we weren't compatible anymore. As wrote, Dr. X helped us get our relationship back on track. Obviously, that freaked me out a bit. Commenter 2, NTA. But it seems like your wife and you have some work ahead of you on how to communicate your wants and needs to each other and to hear the other person. Good luck. Reply. I'm definitely willing to put in the work. I want to become a better communicator. I know, some say you can't teach an old dog's new tricks, but I want to learn. Truly I do. Commenter 3. Has she ever shown that she doesn't like your son? I assume she thinks that, now that he's an adult, she won't have to see him, and you won't have to contribute child support anymore. Reply. I wouldn't say she doesn't like him. She's always given him his space. His mom had primary custody, so when I had visitation the priority was me and his siblings getting to spend time with him, so she would often do her own thing while he was here. Commenter 4. Sounds like you married someone really immature. Anyone who considers divorce because you took your kids to visit. Your other son is being overdramatic and has some other issues. My guess is either she wants to cut out your other son altogether and is upset you're pushing back on that, or she can't stand being the center of attention, and the idea of you doing something she doesn't agree with is just too much for her. Either way, she has some major red flags you should probably address in couples counseling. NTA. Reply. She never said she was considering divorce, just that she wants counseling. Has OP's wife and his son been trying to avoid each other when they are in the same place? Reply. No, they weren't avoiding each other. It's just that since I only had visitation, our time together was limited. So, she would often offer to stay home with the younger kids and give us more time alone together, or stay home while we spent time with the younger kids, and she worked on a project, OP, on his history of making big plans or decisions without consulting with his wife. Reply. I've always been very decisive, but she has always said she likes that. She once said she can't abide. The ambivalent OP clarifies his history with his ex-wife. Reply. I did not cheat on her. We grew in opposite directions. She's impulsive and likes to play it by ear. I'm a planner, and I like to think things through. We started to drive each other crazy. Our split was amicable. I don't blame her for anything. She's a wonderful person, it's not her fault. I became stiffer and she became more flexible. It was her decision to end things. I hate being single and probably would have stuck it out, but she did me a favor because the marriage stopped being good for either of us. OP responds to a comment on if his son really enjoyed his visits to the family, including OP's wife. Reply. He always had a blast. I don't think you're attacking me. He was always overjoyed when I picked him up at the airport. He was always sad to leave but excited about going back to his mother, who he adores. He loved going on adventures with me and his younger siblings. Even the angsty teen years were good. We were always able to talk about everything. He had become more independent, and that was hard for me. But I'm also very proud. Of course, OOP's wife's job, and if her time off was conflicted with OOP's scheduling visit to his son. Reply. My wife is an independent contractor and only has to work when she chooses. So vacation time isn't really a thing for her. Her dad is loaded, and whenever she wants something we can't work into the budget he pays for it for her. Has OOP's wife attend any of his son's events? Reply. She went to his high school graduation, sat next to my ex-wife and cheered and clapped with everyone else. So I'm basing my assumption that she would go to his college graduation on that experience update. 1. Several people commented on my post asking more, like demanding. But that's by the by that I speak to my son about my wife. We spoke today. I asked him if he was disappointed that she didn't come with us to visit him. And he said no, that he wasn't at all surprised she didn't come. I asked why that was, and he said that they aren't close. I asked how he felt about that, and he said he didn't feel positively or negatively about it. I asked if he felt she was a good stepmother to him. He said sure. He said that honestly, he didn't really consider her a stepmother because he never truly lived with her. He only interacted with her when he was visiting me, and even then, not very much. With me and his siblings, there are frequent calls and video chats between visits. With her, nothing, so even though technically she's his stepmother, to him she's just her name. But she was her name to him. We talked about other things afterwards, but the conversation bothered me. Tonight I talked to my wife about it. I asked her how she felt about my son. She said he's a fine young man. I asked if she loved him. She said that was a weird question. I said I didn't think it was. She said she loves me, and I love him. So she loves him by proxy. That bothered me too, but I pushed past it. I asked why she didn't want to visit him. She said he is an adult, and adults need to establish their own lives, not remain dependent on their childhood support systems. She said it's all well and good to link up if we are already going somewhere. But I know she doesn't like California, so if she went, it would only be to see him. And she thinks that's a strange thing to do. I asked, doesn't she want all the kids to remain close? She said no, and it's odd that I do. She reminded me she isn't close with her sister at all. They talk only occasionally, and sometimes go years without seeing each other in person. When they do see each other, they get along fine, but they don't need to see each other. She also pointed out that I barely knew my brother before he died, which is a sore spot for me. She reminded me that my mother and uncle were estranged, and I went without seeing my cousin for 10 years because of it. With all this being the norm, it makes no sense to her that all the kids spending time together be such a high priority. I told her I don't consider those relationships models to emulate. I want the kids to all be close. She said we can't force them to be close. I said no one is forcing them to be close. They are close. However, if we don't facilitate them spending time together, they'll drift away. She said it's natural for siblings to drift apart once they reach adulthood. She said that is inherent to growing up, and by trying to prevent it, I'm preventing my son from maturing. I said we fundamentally disagree on this issue, and I am not willing to cut my son out. She said no one is suggesting that, and that I was being dramatic. She said it's weird. That I acted like we hadn't seen my son in forever when he flew over for his birthday. That was almost 6 months ago and only for the weekend. That was barely a visit, she said, so we all have to be together at least once every 6 months. I said not all of us. But yeah, I want to see my son at least twice a year, and I want the kids to be with us, if at all possible. She said that was a little crazy because he's an adult with his own life. But if he is cool with it, and that's what I want, that's fine. She said the only issue is she doesn't want to have to schedule everything in our life around my son. She also doesn't want me forcing the kids to maintain the relationship. I said since we already have this therapy appointment in September, let's table the topic until then. At least now we both understand the other's position, so we know what we'll be working on. I asked her if she would stop being frosty in the meantime, and she agreed to thaw out. She said getting everything out in the open eased her resentment. I think there is definitely a good foundation here for compromise. I'm sure this therapist will be able to help us hammer out an agreement. I think my wife's perspective on sibling relationships is sort of weird, but she feels the same way about me, so I'm sure we're both slightly off-center. I guess I never realized how neutral my wife and son were about each other. It kind of bums me out, but I know I'm being unreasonable, because neither of them are unhappy. So my dissatisfaction comes from a selfish place. To shorten it up, took your advice, and everything is on the path to resolution, although not fully resolved. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Are you also going to take the advice not to commit your wife to plans without consulting her first? You and many commenters in your last post rolled right past the part where you committed her to going to California without discussing it with her first. The behavior you described your wife exhibiting was awful, but you weren't perfect. I hope you're addressing that, and that both of you can respect each other like partners in the future. Reply. I think all of that will be bundled into the discussion about communication we're hopefully going to have at this therapy session. My wife has never had a problem with accepting dinner invitations on our mutual behalf. I've never checked with her before scheduling doctor's appointments, and she's never raised that as an issue. Clearly there is a problem, but I'm not ready to say definitively what it is. I think it all needs to be unpacked collectively. Commenter 2. A bit of perspective on this for you. As someone in my late 20s, the sibling relationship your kids currently have sounds perfectly normal to me. I don't see my family in person that often, 1 to 2 times a year, about a week of time in person, but I do call with them regularly. Do your kids have a way to do that? Can you try to set up a time when they collectively can catch up with your oldest if you have restrictions on technology? I text my siblings at least once a week, including my sister who just graduated high school. A weekend trip is also not barely a visit if you play your cards right, and with your oldest in college, he's likely only going to get busier as time goes on. My siblings and I haven't always been this close, but I enjoy being this close now. Letting them keep in touch to the degree they prefer is best. As for everything to do with your wife, oldest's interactions, you answering for her about the trip, which is a pretty significant issue regardless of your kids' preferences, etc., I hope therapy goes well. It sounds like you definitely have some things to work out. Reply. Yes, they talk on the phone all the time. I agree that my oldest will probably only get busier, which is why it is important to take advantage of opportunities. When all of us are free, OP responds to a comment about committing his wife to something that she didn't go to. Reply. That's not really a commitment. If I had bought her a ticket, that would be a commitment, because money has been laid out. Even if that had been the case, though, things probably would have played out the same way. If I told our daughter's teacher we can meet her Thursday afternoon, that's a commitment because there are consequences for not showing up to that. Telling a 19-year-old you'll be somewhere isn't really a commitment. They can't exactly do anything if you don't. Commenter 3. I think your wife is full of it. When your older sons you have together are 19 and 20, and move out, and the youngest is 13, she'll be all about the older ones maintaining a relationship with the youngest one and helping to facilitate that. She just doesn't care to maintain her relationship with your son. It's not a priority to her. She has no animosity towards him. He's just not all that important to her. Commenter 4. Is it just me, or the wife's saying that adults need to establish their own lives, not remain dependent on their childhood support systems, when she herself still relies on her own father buying her things outside her budget? OP mentioned in comments. Well, it's sort of double standardish. Update. 2. A few weeks ago, my wife and I had a dispute about me taking our kids to see my son. We agreed to go to therapy and to table the argument until the therapy session. We had our first therapy session, and it did not go well. First we went in, sat down and introduced ourselves. The therapist asked us some questions about our relationship and our backgrounds. My wife became annoyed and said that wasn't what we were there to talk about. My therapist asked what we were there to talk about, and she explained that I'm prioritizing my relationship with my adult son over my marriage, and it bothers her. The therapist asked me if I consider my son a higher priority than my wife. I said all of my children are my highest priority. The therapist then asked my wife if she considered the children a higher priority than me, and she said no. She said our marriage was her highest priority and it upset her that it wasn't mine. The therapist then asked me if it upset me that the kids weren't her highest priority, and I said that it didn't make me happy, but I respect that she feels that way. The therapist started asking us questions about the children, and my wife said she didn't want to get off topic and waste time. The therapist then asked her if it was possible for two people with different priorities to have a happy and healthy relationship. My wife said she was the therapist and to tell her the therapist said it is possible if both parties are committed to making it work. But it isn't if they aren't. My wife said a relationship only works if it's the most important thing in both people's lives. She said she couldn't be with a man that doesn't value her above all else. She said she puts me first and only wants the same. The therapist asked me if I agree with her assessment, and I said I didn't really, but I agree that those are her feelings. The therapist asked my wife if intentions are more important or actions. My wife said both are important. The therapist asked if I treat her the way she wants to be treated, but still consider the kids first. Would she want to end the relationship? She said if I don't consider her first, I'm not treating her the way she wants to be treated. We talked a lot about respect, but ultimately nothing was resolved. We're going back next week. I love my wife very much, but I think she's going to leave me. I don't know how I would handle that. Part of me wants to lie to her and tell her what she wants to hear, but I know that is just sabotaging us in the long run. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. You married a woman and had 3 kids with her and didn't know she was neutral about your child. That she doesn't prioritize family. She doesn't respect. That there are times your children must come first. That she doesn't want closeness between you and your children or for your children to be close to one another. You were willfully blind to all of that, and right now that you are being forced to face these truths, you're scared she will leave. She sounds like her vision for a relationship is you and her against the world, and only the two of you. One day, if she has her way, you'll look up and have no one but her, and eventually one of you will die. And who will the surviving spouse have? No siblings, no children, no grandchildren. So what do you want? Reply, I want all of us to have a good relationship. Commenter 2. I don't understand all these comments telling op that children grow up and that you can't neglect your spouse and so on. After reading all the posts, the problem here isn't about neglecting a spouse, but the fact that the wife wanted OP to stop being the father of his son from a previous relationship as soon as he came of age. She didn't want OP nor their children to visit his first son for a few days, even when their children wanted to, and she tried to manipulate them into not wanting to see their brother. This is not about OP not giving his wife enough attention or importance. This is about his wife not seeing his first child being as important as her own children because he is the son that OP had with another woman before her. Commenter 3. She's already checked out and therapy isn't going to work. She's not open to it, and all she wants is validation from the therapist, not solutions on how to move forward together. Commenter 4. Holy shit, that therapy session sounds like it was agonizing to sit through. Reply. It was. Stories number 2. Am I overreacting for leaving my girlfriend's family dinner after what her dad said? I've been dating my girlfriend for almost a year. She's 27, I'm 28, and things have been going really well between us. We've talked about the future, moving in together, maybe even marriage down the line. So when she finally invited me to meet her parents for dinner, I knew this was an important step. I wanted to make the best impression possible. I shaved that morning, put on a nice button-up, and even brought along a bottle of wine I thought they might enjoy. My girlfriend assured me her parents were friendly, maybe a little traditional, but nothing I couldn't handle when we arrived. Everything seemed fine at first. Her mom greeted me warmly, offered to take my coat, and asked about my drive over. Her dad was polite enough, shaking my hand firmly, but I noticed right away he had this sizing me up look, like he was quietly taking notes on every move I made. Dinner started with small talk. Weather, the food, little stories from my girlfriend's childhood. I laughed at all the right places. And I thought, okay, I'm doing all right here. Then her dad turned to me and asked about my job. I work in IT, good salary, stable career, something I'm proud of. So I explained what I do, keeping it casual but clear. That's when he smirked and said, "So basically you just sit behind a computer all day?" Not exactly the kind of guy I imagined for my daughter. The table went quiet. There was this half-hearted, awkward laugh from a couple of people, like they weren't sure if it was a joke or not. My face burned. I tried to roll with it, made some self-deprecating comment to smooth things over, but then he doubled down. He leaned back in his chair, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "Maybe someday you'll get a real job. Something that actually supports a family." That hit me like a punch to the gut. I work hard. I've built a career I'm proud of. I've saved. I'm independent. And I've always imagined providing for a family someday. To hear him dismiss everything I do as if it's worthless, in front of everyone, was humiliating. I looked over at my girlfriend, hoping she'd say something, defend me even a little. All she said was a quiet, "Dad," and then she just let it drop. She didn't push back, didn't stand up for me, just left me hanging there. My appetite was gone. My chest felt tight, and I knew if I stayed, I'd either blow up or sit there swallowing my pride while her dad kept chipping away at me. So I calmly put down my fork, apologized, and said I wasn't feeling well. Then I excused myself and left later that night. I expected my girlfriend to check in on me, maybe acknowledge how out of line her dad had been. Instead, she texted me saying I embarrassed her by walking out. She told me I should have just let it go, that her dad was only teasing. And now she says I owe her family an apology. I honestly feel blindsided. To me, this isn't about a bad joke. It's about respect. Her dad insulted me to my face, and she stood by quietly. Am I really supposed to sit there and laugh while he belittles me? Now she's cold and distant, and I'm left questioning everything. If she won't defend me now, how would this play out long term? What happens when bigger conflicts come up? Is she going to take her family's side every time? So Reddit, am I overreacting for walking out of that dinner? Or was I right to remove myself from a situation where I felt disrespected? Comments. Commenter. Nor, she just proved that her family is toxic and she's too cowardly to do anything about it. I'd bail on this relationship. The fact that she scolded you for leaving due to his horrible behavior is something else. Commenter 2. Not for leaving, but you definitely should talk to her in person and explain to her that it was awkward, and you wish she had been more vocal to her support of you. Time to have a hard conversation about your finances, boundaries to her dad, and the negging that you were subjected to. It could go two ways. 1. She's just as embarrassed as you are and hates that you were talked down to. Or 2. She minimizes your reaction and passively agrees with her dad's assessment. Either way, it's a big deal. Commenter 3. You deserve a partner who values you enough to stand up for you. I would explain that maybe in the past he's always acted this way, and although she may see it as teasing, that you don't appreciate being talked to that way, and having your career be minimized. Tell her it was disrespectful, and if she would like this relationship to continue down the same path, that you would like an apology. Commenter 4. This sucks, but I would not have handled it this way. He wants to challenge your masculinity. I'd give it right back. Challenge his instead. Challenge his intelligence. Challenge his values. His notions of manliness. Yes, I understand technology isn't for everyone. My grandmother felt the same way as you. We used to laugh about it because she was old, didn't understand it, and was stuck in the 1970s. I feel it's the perfect industry based on the reality of today's economy. Challenge him back. You should not have to do this. But figuratively speaking, when a bully picks a fight, punch them in the face and maybe don't stop punching. That dipshit father wants to act like an alpha. Take the role from him and you be the alpha. Stories number 3. I quit my corporate job to travel. Terrified, excited, and forever changed. I'm 33 years old, and tomorrow, I'm doing something that terrifies me. I'm quitting my corporate job. Not for another company. Not for a promotion, but to take 6 months off and travel. It feels surreal even saying it out loud. For years I've woken up, Logged into my computer, stared at dashboards and endless spreadsheets, and told myself, this is fine. This is stability. This is what adults do. And to be fair, it paid the bills. I'm in data analytics, and I know it's a skill set that companies need, but deep down, I felt myself getting more and more restless, like I was watching my life pass by through a window. For years, I've dreamed of just taking off. Backpack. One-way ticket. No meetings on my calendar. No circling back emails, just life. Unfiltered, but I always had an excuse. The timing isn't right. I'll do it once I get promoted. Maybe after I save a little more. And now, here I am, no debt, enough savings to live on for 6 months. And the awareness that if I don't do this now, I may never do it. Because the future is coming fast. Marriage, kids, aging parents, responsibilities that will only grow heavier. This might be the last window I have before life locks me in for good. So yes, I'm terrified. I hate interviews. And the idea of coming back and job hunting again makes my stomach twist. I know the economy is uncertain, and maybe I won't find something as good as I have now. But I keep telling myself, money comes and goes, time doesn't update. I actually did. I told my manager. I walked into that office with my heart pounding, my resignation letter burning a hole in my laptop bag. My palms were sweating, and then, something unexpected happened. Instead of the confrontation I imagined, my manager just looked at me calmly and said, "Would you consider a sabbatical?" It caught me completely off guard. He explained that I could take time off, unpaid of course, but with the guarantee that I'd still have a job to come back to. The only catch: 3 months, not 6 at first. I hesitated. I'd been mentally preparing myself to cut ties completely, but the thought of a safety net was too tempting. The fear of coming back to nothing was real. So I agreed. 3 months. It wasn't the full dream, but it was a start. The journey I left in March, backpack on my shoulders, ticket to South America in hand. The second I stepped off that plane, I felt something shift inside me. The air smelled different. The streets buzzed with energy I hadn't felt in years. I stayed in hostels, shared rooms with strangers who became friends overnight. I ate food I couldn't pronounce, danced to music I didn't know the steps to, and stumbled through conversations in broken Spanish. Every day felt alive. One day I'd be hiking through mountains. The next I'd be crammed into a bus for 12 hours, with chickens at my feet and a stranger sharing snacks with me. I journaled at night, trying to capture every detail because I didn't want to forget a single second. And the thing is, I never once regretted it. Not for a moment. The only regret I had was that I hadn't done it sooner. Or longer. Coming back 3 months went by in a blur. Before I knew it, I was boarding a flight home, return ticket in hand, dreading the reality waiting for me. The first few days back were strange. I slept in my own bed, showered without flip-flops, cooked in my own kitchen. Luxuries I'd forgotten to appreciate. Seeing friends again was comforting. But logging back into work? That hit hard. It felt like stepping into an old skin I'd already shed. Still, the trip changed me. I realized that my life doesn't have to be just work, and weekends I can save again, plan again, and do this again. I don't need to wait for some perfect time, because there isn't one. My takeaways: planning. The trip was nerve-wracking. I second-guessed myself 100 times. But once I was on the road, 0 regrets. The fear melted away. 3 months isn't long. Honestly, it felt like an extended vacation rather than a reinvention. But it was enough to recharge me, enough to remind me what makes life worth living. The best part wasn't the landmarks or the Instagram-worthy moments. It was the people, fellow travelers I met in hostels, people I'm still in touch with today. Some are still on the road, still living that dream, and when they send me pictures, I can't help but smile and daydream. Would I recommend it? Absolutely. Would I do it again? In a heartbeat. And next time, I won't settle for 3 months. Next time, it's going to be a year. A full year of chasing sunsets, meeting strangers, and living without a calendar dictating my every move for now. Though it's time to refill that bank account. But the difference is, I'm not saving out of fear anymore. I'm saving with purpose because I know exactly what I'm saving for. Freedom update. 1 year later, how my life changed. After quitting to travel, it's been about a year since I first wrote that terrified little post about quitting my corporate job to travel. I remember sitting at my desk, typing with shaky hands, wondering if I was insane for walking away from stability. Now, looking back, I want to share what really happened, because the experience shaped me in ways I couldn't have imagined first. The obvious question everyone asks me, was it worth it? My answer is still a resounding yes. 1,000 times yes. But it's also more complicated than that. The return to normal life coming back was harder than leaving. The 3 months I was gone flew by so quickly that when I landed back home, it felt almost like a dream. I went straight from hostel dorms and night buses to my neatly made bed and quiet apartment. The contrast was jarring. The first morning back, I woke up to silence. No chatter of travelers rustling bags at 6 a.m. No creaky bunk bed above me. No street vendors shouting outside, just silence. And instead of feeling rested, I felt empty. Then came the return to work. I had my old job waiting for me because I'd taken the sabbatical instead of fully quitting. And while that gave me security, it also gave me something else. Dread walking back into that office, hearing the same corporate buzzwords, sitting down in front of the same screens. It felt like I had traveled the whole world only to step right back into the same cage I lasted. But I won't lie. The adjustment was brutal for weeks. I found myself zoning out in meetings, remembering the Andes Mountains, or a night I spent in a little seaside town where the electricity cut out and the whole hostel sat around by candlelight telling stories. The contrast was almost painful. What I learned about myself traveling stripped me of my routine and forced me to think about what I actually want. And the truth is, I discovered I don't want to live for work. I want to live for experiences, for connections, for moments that make me feel alive. One night stands out in particular. I was in Chile, hiking with a group I had just met. We ended up camping under the stars, and I remember lying there, looking at the sky, realizing I hadn't felt that light, that free, in over a decade. No deadlines, no managers, just life, raw and unedited. That moment taught me something. Freedom is addictive. Once you taste it, it's impossible to forget. The people I met. The landscapes were breathtaking, but honestly, the people were the highlight. I met fellow travelers who came from every corner of the globe. Students on gap years, people who had quit high-powered jobs, retirees spending their savings, digital nomads with laptops in their backpacks. One guy I met was in his 50s, and he'd been traveling continuously for years. He told me, "There's never a perfect time. People always think they'll travel when they're young or when they're retired, but the truth is, the only time you really have is now." That line stuck with me. Some of those people are still on the road today. I follow their photos on Instagram, and every time I see one, I get that ache in my chest. Part jealousy, part inspiration. The hard parts, it wasn't all sunsets and joy, though there were tough moments too. Nights when I felt lonely, surrounded by strangers, days when I was sick and had to drag myself across a city just to find medicine. The constant mental math of watching my savings shrink. But even the bad moments taught me resilience. I realized I can handle more than I thought. That's a lesson I carried home with me. So, where am I now? I'm back at my corporate job, for now. But here's the difference. I don't feel stuck anymore. I feel like I'm in control. Work is just a tool now. A way to refill the bank account so I can do this again, because I will do this again. That's the promise I made to myself. Next time, it won't be 3 months. Next time, it'll be a year. A full year on the road, no safety net, no ticking clock. I've started a separate savings account just for travel. I've cut back on things that don't really matter. The random online shopping, the subscriptions I never use. Every extra euro I save feels like a ticket to freedom. And this time, when I go, I won't hesitate. Final thoughts. If you're reading this and you're on the fence about taking a leap like this, here's what I'll say. The fear before you go is always bigger than the reality. Once you're out there, once you take that first step, you'll realize that life is happening now, and you're strong enough to handle the unknown. I don't regret a second of my decision. My only regret is not doing it sooner. So yes, I'm back in the corporate world for now, but I'm not the same person who left it a year ago. The world cracked me open, showed me possibilities, and gave me the courage to say, I'll be back out there soon. And when I go, I won't look back. Stories number 4. My best friend confessed she's in love with my husband and said I should be flattered. So this just happened a few days ago, and I still don't even know how to process it. I, 32F, have been married to my husband, 34M, for almost 6 years. We've always had a solid relationship. Not perfect, but we trust each other. We communicate. And I honestly thought we had a really good circle of friends around us. One of those friends is Emily, not her real name, who has been my best friend since college. She was my maid of honor. She's been there for every big milestone in my life. And she's the kind of person I thought of as family. She knows my husband well because of how close we all are. And I never saw any reason to worry about that. Well, last weekend we were hanging out at my place. Just the two of us, drinking wine and catching up. My husband was out running errands out of nowhere. Emily got really quiet, then looked at me and said, "I need to tell you something, and I don't want you to freak out." I thought maybe she was moving away, or had some health scare, but instead she says, "I'm in love with husband's name." I laughed at first because I thought she was joking, but she didn't laugh. She looked dead serious. She even reached out and grabbed my hand like she was expecting me to comfort her. I was completely stunned. I asked her what the hell she meant by that, and she started going on about how she's never met a man who's so kind, patient, funny, and how watching the way he treats me made her realize he's everything she's ever wanted. At this point, I'm staring at her like she's lost her mind. And then she says something that actually made my stomach flip. "You should be flattered, honestly. It means you chose well. Most people never get to say their partner is so desirable that even their best friend falls in love with them." Flattered. She said I should be flattered that my best friend is in love with my husband. I don't even know how I managed to keep my cool, but I told her that was one of the most inappropriate and disrespectful things I've ever heard. She got defensive and said she wasn't trying to steal him or anything. She just thought she should be honest about her feelings because real friends don't keep secrets. Now I don't know what to do. I haven't told my husband yet because I don't even know how to bring it up. And Emily has been texting me like nothing happened, sending me memes and updates about her day, as if she didn't just nuke our entire friendship update. My best friend confessed she's in love with my husband and said I should be flattered. Hi everyone. Thanks for the comments and advice on my original post. I didn't reply to everything because, honestly, I was overwhelmed. But I read them all. A lot of you said, "Tell your husband right away," and "This is not someone who should be in your life." I needed a few days to process before I acted. But here's what happened. Telling my husband. The night after I posted, I sat my husband down. My heart was pounding because I didn't want it to sound like I was accusing him of anything. He immediately noticed I was nervous and asked if everything was okay. I told him exactly what Emily said, word for word, how she told me she was in love with him, how she thought I should be flattered, and how she acted like she was doing me a favor by being honest. At first, he just stared at me like he couldn't even process it. Then he said, "You're joking. Please tell me you're joking." When he realized I wasn't, he looked disgusted. The first thing he said after that was, "I don't want anything to do with her ever." He reassured me right away. There has never been anything between them. No flirting, no subtle signals, nothing. He said he always thought of Emily as just my friend. Almost like a cousin who happened to be around a lot. I believed him. Because honestly, I've never seen him act any different with her than with any of my other friends. The anger in his voice wasn't defensive. It was protective. Confronting Emily the next day, I texted Emily and told her we needed to talk in person. She came over that evening, acting like nothing was wrong. She even tried to hug me when she walked in. I sat her down and told her very plainly, "I told husband's name what you said." She froze, then started crying. Not just tearing up, full-on sobbing. She said she didn't mean for me to tell him, that she just needed to get her feelings off her chest. I told her that keeping those kinds of feelings secret while hanging around us would have been even worse, and that if she really respected me or my marriage, she would have never let it get this far. And this is where it got even uglier. She actually said, "You don't understand. You don't appreciate him the way I do. He deserves to know someone sees him for who he really is." That floored me. I told her she was disrespecting both me and him, but she doubled down, saying, "I'm not trying to break you up, but if it ever doesn't work out between you two, you know where I stand." I can't even describe the cold feeling I got hearing that. This was my best friend of over a decade basically telling me she's waiting in the wings where things stand now. I told her, through tears, that our friendship was over. I couldn't trust her. I couldn't look at her the same way. and I couldn't believe she thought this was acceptable. She started begging me not to throw away our years of friendship over a moment of honesty. She even said I should just set boundaries, and everything could go back to normal. But here's the thing. Once someone says something like that, there is no going back. I can't ever invite her into my home again without feeling sick. I can't ever relax, knowing she's looking at my husband like that. So I told her to leave. She stormed out crying, saying I was cruel and overreacting. Since then, she sent me multiple long texts, half apologies, half justifications. Things like, I didn't mean to hurt you, I just couldn't hide how I feel anymore. And, you'll regret throwing me away over this. I haven't responded, how I feel now. I'm heartbroken. I feel like I lost not just a friend, but a sister. But at the same time, I feel relieved. Because looking back, there were little red flags I ignored. The way she sometimes complimented my husband a little too much. The way she always made sure to sit next to him at group dinners. The way she'd make comments like, "You're so lucky. Not all men are like him." At the time, I brushed it off as harmless. But now I see it for what it was. The beginning of something she let grow instead of shutting it down. As for my marriage, if anything, this has made me appreciate my husband more. He's been nothing but supportive, constantly checking in to make sure I'm okay. He even suggested we do something special, just the two of us, to take my mind off things. So, what now? Right now, I'm mourning the friendship but protecting my peace. I've blocked her on social media and muted her number. Part of me wants to send one final message spelling it all out, but another part of me feels like she doesn't deserve that closure. All I know is, I will never allow someone who disrespects my marriage to stay in my life. Period. Final update. My best friend confessed she's in love with my husband and said I should be flattered. It's been about a month since my last update, and I think this will be my final one. Things have escalated, settled, and now I finally feel like I can close the door on this whole situation. Emily didn't let go quietly after I cut off contact. I thought Emily would eventually get the hint. But instead, she doubled down at first. It was constant texts, alternating between apologies and guilt-tripping. One message would say, "I was drunk. I didn't mean it. Please forgive me." And the next would be, "If you were really my best friend, you'd try to understand my feelings instead of judging me." I ignored them all. Then she started reaching out to my husband. That was the breaking point. One evening, he showed me his phone. She had sent him this long, rambling message about how she knew he must feel something too, and that life is too short to deny true love. He blocked her immediately, but seeing it in writing made me shake with rage. It wasn't just a crush she was keeping to herself. She was actively trying to wedge herself into my marriage, telling mutual friends at that point. I knew I couldn't just quietly cut her off. We have mutual friends. People who still invited her to group events. I didn't want rumors starting or people wondering why I suddenly froze her out. So I told them the truth. Not in a dramatic, choose sides way. Just calmly explained that Emily confessed she was in love with my husband, disrespected my boundaries, and then crossed the line by messaging him. The reactions were mixed. Some people were shocked and supportive, saying they never would have guessed. A couple admitted they'd noticed how much she fawned over him but thought it was harmless. And one person, who was closer to Emily, actually said, "Well, maybe she just couldn't help her feelings." That stung, because sure, you can't control who you fall for, but you can absolutely control whether you confess it to your best friend's spouse. Needless to say, I've taken a step back from that entire circle for now. The last thing I need is to be gaslit into thinking I overreacted where my marriage stands. This whole mess could have gone two ways. It could have shaken my trust, or it could have made us stronger. Thankfully, it's the latter. My husband handled everything exactly how I needed him to. He didn't hide anything, didn't get defensive and shut her down immediately. Every time I spiraled into what-ifs, he reminded me, she can feel whatever she wants. It doesn't matter. Because I chose you, I will always choose you. That reassurance has meant everything. If there was ever any doubt, this ordeal showed me that I married a man with integrity. Emily's last move about 2 weeks ago. Emily sent one final email. It was long and dramatic, the kind of thing you'd expect in a bad soap opera. She accused me of betraying her by broadcasting her feelings to others. She said she only ever wanted honesty between us, and that I threw away a decade of friendship over one confession. But the part that sealed it for me was this line: "If you were truly secure in your marriage, you wouldn't see me as a threat." That was the moment I stopped feeling sad about losing her, because that sentence revealed exactly who she was. Someone who saw my boundaries as insecurity. Someone who twisted betrayal into victimhood. I didn't reply. I blocked her on everything, and I finally felt peace moving. Forward, I won't pretend it doesn't hurt. Losing a best friend feels a lot like a breakup. There are songs, movies, inside jokes I can't enjoy the same way anymore. But the grief is slowly turning into relief, because what's the alternative? Keeping someone in my life who openly disrespects me? Who covets my husband and sees it as a compliment? That's not friendship, that's poison now. My focus is on rebuilding. My husband and I have been spending more time together. Date nights, weekend trips, just being present, and I've reconnected with other friends who actually respect me and my marriage. It's funny. For years, I thought Emily was the one person I could always count on. Turns out, she was the one person I most needed to let go. TLDR, my best friend of 10+ years confessed she was in love with my husband and told me I should be flattered. I cut her off, but she kept pushing, eventually messaging my husband directly. He blocked her and reassured me he wants nothing to do with her. I told our mutual friends the truth, blocked her on everything, and ended the friendship for good. Losing her hurts, but I don't regret protecting my marriage and my peace. Stories number 5. Aita for ruining my mom's marriage. My mom blames me for her husband filing for divorce. They got married when I, 17, was 10. He wanted kids, but mom couldn't have more, so he decided he would be fine being my dad. Only I never saw or accepted him as my dad. I had a dad and he died, but he was still my dad. Not someone who married my mom when I was 10. We got along okay. It disappointed him whenever I said no to him adopting me, or when I used his first name instead of calling him dad. He called me his daughter and I hated it, but never said anything. So he kept calling me his, and I'd always correct people, calling him my dad. I thought that would tell him nothing was changing on my side. But a few months ago for school I did a project for art on my parents, and I did mom and dad. It wasn't supposed to be seen by anyone else and didn't think it would turn into breakdown. But my teacher emailed it to my mom and he saw it. Too, she was saying how talented I was and she thought mom should encourage my art more, but seeing that was like the final straw for him. He told mom he couldn't live without being a parent and he thought he could be mine. But I had never given him that chance. He said he wasn't going to wait around for me to maybe feel different. At 40, he said being 51 he could still find a woman who'll give him kids of his own, and he left mom and filed for divorce. When he was going, he told me he hoped I'd regret rejecting him someday, because I had no idea how good I could have had it. Ever since my mom has blamed me, she told me I needed to make it up to him, so he wouldn't go through with the divorce, but I told her I wasn't lying to get him back. She said he's been around almost as long as dad was in my life, and he would have been around to see me get married and give my future kids a grandpa, and now there's nobody. She asked me who I'd call my father figure. Now I told her I never called him my father figure, and it was always my grandpa's who got the title. Mom said the fact I'd fight her after ruining her marriage showed how little I care about her. I told her I love her, and it's why I tried to get along with him. I told her it's not like I wanted someone else when dad died, but I knew she did, so I accepted him into the household, but I would never let someone be my dad, so they'd be her husband. She claimed I was making excuses and should feel more shame for ruining such a good thing. Comments. Commenter. 1. If the success of their marriage relied on the feelings of a third person, especially a child, it was never going to last. That is not a solid foundation. You did not ruin their marriage. They did. Stepdad wanted children, and your mother couldn't give him children. They married anyway, despite this fundamental incompatibility. They have now finally recognized the incompatibility. It has nothing to do with you. You are just easier to blame. If they didn't blame you, they would need to accept that they never should have married, and it is hard to admit that. I am sorry they are putting you in this position, but it is not your fault. NTA commenter 2 NTAI. Think your mom is TA here. She should have respected your boundaries when she got married and made it clear to him from the start that he would never be your dad. I also think your stepdad was TA for trying to step into that role just because he couldn't have his own kids. It really sounds like he wanted you to fill that void, not because he genuinely wanted to be your dad and the art teacher. Not okay. At least ask first. Reply, I wish she'd asked too. I never wanted Mom to be mad at me or hate me for how I felt. I didn't hide it, but I still tried to be respectful by not correcting him and stuff. She still hates me now because he's gone. Commenter 3. Your stepdad's need to be a father and your mom's inability to give him a child was always a ticking time bomb, something they both deliberately avoided acknowledging. Even if you had accepted him as your dad, sometimes down the years, he would have wanted a genetic descendant to give him grandchildren when he was old. For your mom, you are an easy target to blame for her and his failure to deal with this fundamental flaw in their relationship, because you were the focus of his dissatisfaction. But he and she were dissatisfied with their relationship for other reasons as well. In short, he got the 7-year itch, so left her to find someone else who may be able to give him a child. But he left her for other reasons as well. You're NTA, but your mom and stepdad are TA. Commenter 4. I know these roads are really hard, but did they look into adopting, surrogacy, anything else but putting that weight on your shoulders? I'm 44 years old. My mom died in 2003. Been with my fiancé for almost 24 years. I still call his mom Mrs. She said I can call her mom, but I just can't give that title to anyone else. She understands. And before anyone says, well, that's not a step-parent. Yeah, I have one of those two. Dad cheated on my mom. They divorced. He married the AP. No way in heck am I giving her that title. Anyways, all that to say, you might never feel like calling anyone dad again in your life, and that's okay. They shouldn't have tried to force you to feel a certain way or do something like that you didn't want to do. Reply, if they looked into that stuff, I never knew about it, but I don't think they were looking at different options. Stories number 6. Friend's husband made a scene at a restaurant and I don't wish to see him again. This might sound unforgiving, but a friend's husband made a scene at a restaurant last time we met up a few weeks ago. As such, I have decided I do not want to see him again. It was not my husband and I's first time having lunch with them, but we'd like it to be our last. My friend's husband has no manners, and sitting down with him has felt like punishment. Every time we've done so over the past few years, he has been rude to staff before, but arguing over being charged for something he explicitly requested was a deal breaker for us. I even offered to pay. But my friend was like, well, he already talked to the manager. He was already aggressive from the start, insisting to find the manager BC. They didn't take our order immediately upon sitting down. I would like to just hang out with my friend without her husband, but she also has to ask his permission for all outings, even if she is not working, but he is. She has left me hanging for a few weeks before, expecting me to hold a time in my calendar indefinitely for her. I love spending time with her, but I cannot waste my precious time with her husband who makes everything a big deal and is always looking to start a fight. I emailed the restaurant apologizing for his behavior, but I still felt embarrassed. What do I do when my friend asks for another double date? I am afraid of losing the friendship if I am honest that we don't want to see her husband again. But I am pressed for time as a working mom, and I would much rather scrub my toilet than see her husband. I feel bad, because I think I'm her only friend. To edit. Thanks everyone for your replies. The issues with one-on-ones with my friend is, she not only has to ask her husband for permission, but that takes up to 3 weeks at a time, and then confirms the day before the proposed date. I need to plan ahead because I have a full calendar with work and other social activities. But I don't like holding a date for over a week for anyone. Comments. Commenter 1. If it were me, I'd still try to meet up with her, but in ways that naturally lean toward one-on-one time, like a weekday lunch, a manicure, pedicure, or a quick shopping trip. He's less likely to tag along to those. I also wouldn't keep leaving space in your calendar for her. Instead, set firm plans with a clear RSVP deadline. For example, hey, I'd love to do lunch Friday at ABC. Let me know by Wednesday if that works, otherwise, I'll assume it doesn't. I wouldn't bring up the double date issue unless she asks if she does. Just be honest and explain that you felt embarrassed by how the last outing went, and that double dates aren't really your thing, but you'd still love to spend time together doing other things. Commenter 2. Your friend is in an abusive relationship. He's controlling her time even when he's not around. Don't outright reject her. There may come a day when she needs to escape him, so she'll need someone to reach out to. Don't confront your friend's husband. He'll use that as a golden opportunity to finally push you away from his wife, which is what he wants. He wants her isolated, the goal of all abusers. Instead, fade back. Don't reject her openly. Just be vague. I'm sorry, I'd love to see you, but hubby is slammed at work and can't spare any time. If you'd like the two of us to grab coffee, I'd love to. Otherwise, we can't make it. Commenter 3. I've found being straight up with people in these situations works best so that the isolation isn't as gradual as friend's husband would like. I had to step back from a very close friend because of a situation like this. And I was just honest and said something like, "Hey, I recognize that you may not be allowed to hang out with me if I'm not willing to be around him. But I just can't stand him and the way he treats people, including you. If you ever decide you don't need his permission anymore, or even need a place to crash to get away from him, do not hesitate to come to me, and the line of communication will always be open. I love you and I'll be here waiting, but I don't have the bandwidth to watch him abuse the people around me and pretend I'm okay with it. And it's not a battle I can fight if it's a situation you accept." Commenter 4. You just have to let your friend know that you would love to meet her for lunch or dinner, but her husband makes you uncomfortable. Let her know that you're available when she is. Then the ball is in her court. Stories number 7 WebTA. If I broke things off with a guy because he wouldn't drive me home, I'll keep things simple. I 21F have been going out with a guy 23M for 2 months or so. We've been on maybe 4 or 5 dates. He lives in the town over from me. I live in a college town that relies mostly on bikes and buses for transportation. Most students don't have cars, including me. We made plans on Tuesday to go to this bar with mini golf in his town. He said we could meet at 7, but that he couldn't pick me up, as he got off work at 6. His town is about a 30-minute drive from mine, and that was fine. And I made arrangements to take the bus. Note that I've never been to this part of his town before. Anyways, I take 2 buses and get there around 7:15. And we have fun. I drink a bit, and he doesn't drink. I feel like this is important to mention since I assumed he wasn't drinking, since he would be driving me back home. Around 11 we decide to wrap things up, and he says goodnight and that we'll plan something later. I, confused, asked if he was driving me home. He said no, that he was too tired to after a 6-hour shift. Now I'm panicking a little since he won't drive me, and the buses don't go that late between our towns. I tell him that the buses aren't running anymore, and he sort of just shrugs it off. I asked him why didn't drink then, and he said he just wasn't feeling it and had work tomorrow. The only option I had left was an Uber, so I tell him I'll take an Uber. The issue with the Uber is that the price was quite high, and I don't have that much money anyways. He says okay and leaves after saying goodnight, which I felt was another red flag. We were in a public plaza kind of area, and I felt quite unsafe sitting there all alone at close to midnight. I wish he would have stayed until the Uber arrived. At least luckily the rest of the night passed without incident, except me being like $50 poorer from the Uber. I've been thinking about it, and I just felt very uncared for refusing to drop me off, and not really caring about how I got home, and then just letting me wait all alone for the Uber for 10 minutes in what felt like a shady area. So, Wibta for not seeing a guy anymore for this reason? ETA. To answer some questions I'm seeing pop up. I did not know the buses would not be running this late. The buses around my town run until 12 a.m., and I assumed wrongly that the buses between towns would also be running on that schedule. They don't, and end at 10 p.m. If I had known the buses between towns end at 10 p.m., I would have ended the date earlier and gone home. I assumed he was going to drive me home because, he only mentioned not being able to pick me up. And B, he's driven me back before, on previous dates. 3A, I'm not taking advantage of him, as I have also paid for dates. If I had a car, I would have no problem driving to him. I was disappointed he didn't drive me back. But the real kicker to me was that he didn't even wait for my Uber to show up. That was kind of the final nail in the coffin. Comments. Commenter 1. I was at a show a few weeks ago and a group of girls I had just met like 20 minutes prior all waited for my Uber with me because it was late and nobody else was on the street. This guy's an ass. Commenter 2. That's exactly what you should expect from decent people. Even strangers, the guy's behavior was a huge red flag. Commenter 3 girl. If a man can watch you struggle to get home late at night and not even pretend to care, he's not someone you need in your life. Ditch him. You deserve way better. Commenter 4. Wow. A whole 6-hour shift. Seriously, that's part-time. Commenter 5. He didn't drink. He didn't pay for her drinks or golf. Didn't want to pay for gas to drive her home or help her with an Uber. He's either the biggest cheapskate in the world or he's poor. He shouldn't be dating. Update. I originally thought he would be driving me home since he's done so once before when it was late. But it was in my town. This assumption was reinforced when he only mentioned not being able to pick me up, but nothing about dropping me off. If he had said he couldn't drive me back, I would have just budgeted differently or left earlier to make the buses around my town run until 12 a.m. But the bus between towns stops running at 10 p.m., which I hadn't known. I did not go in, knowing the buses had stopped. If I knew he wasn't planning on driving me back, I would have double-checked about the bus schedules and paid more attention. I take the blame for not confirming with him about driving me back. I am not really that upset that he couldn't drive me back. Though I was in the moment, I did, however, expect some kind of concern over how I was going to get back and, at the very least, for him to stay until my Uber arrived. Also, for those who blamed me for getting stranded. I wasn't stranded. There was no question about the Uber, but I just would have preferred not to, as it put a dent in my finances on the issue of me being a gold digger or taking advantage of him. I've paid for dates before. If I had a car, I would drive to him. He was the one who suggested the location and time for this date, so I had no problem catching 2 buses over. And in response to a few annoying comments about gender, if the roles were reversed, I would have driven him back if I was too tired or didn't want to drive at night or something. There is no question that I would have waited for his Uber and paid half of it. Emo, that's just basic decency. Not really sure where the comments whining about equality were coming from, as I would have paid half and waited whether I was with a man or a woman. I think I've addressed the main points, so on to the update. So the date happened on Tuesday night. I took an Uber back and got home around midnight. He texted me around 20 minutes after I got home, asking if I got home safe. I didn't respond as I was exhausted, and honestly just wanted to shower and sleep. Throughout Wednesday, he sent me a few memes in the morning and afternoon, and then stopped texting. Wednesday evening, I posted my first post, and after that, later at night, he asked if I was mad at him and that he'd just been tired. I finally responded and told him I wasn't really mad that he didn't drive me home, especially since it's true I didn't confirm, but I was just disappointed since I wished he would have stayed for the Uber to show up at least. Like, did I wish he drove me home? Sure, but not really that big of a deal that he didn't. The part where he left me at midnight in an unfamiliar place was kind of the kicker for me. He's a lot bigger than I am, and I would just felt a lot safer with him there. Once again, he said he was just tired and wanted to go home and said I ended up okay, and that it was fine. Honestly, if he'd done a real apology, I probably would have given him another chance when I didn't respond to what he said. He kind of moved on and said he already had a place to take me to next time. Some restaurant a few miles from his house. He said, "Let's do a reservation at 8 p.m. on Saturday and then go out for drinks and then a movie." I kind of wanted to be petty and ask if I should start saving up for an Uber back already. But eventually I just told him that his actions from Tuesday had made me feel very uncared for and that I wasn't really interested in going out with him for a 6th date. He immediately started asking if I was serious and that if he'd known it was such a big deal, he would have stayed for the Uber. This annoyed me since how did he not know it was a big deal? Why did it not occur to him in the first place that leaving me alone at midnight in an unfamiliar public plaza with bars everywhere might be an issue for me, and that he really liked me and didn't want this to ruin things, etc., etc. He even promised to drive me home next time, but I kind of just wanted to wash my hands of this whole thing. I don't want him to feel forced into driving me, and I don't want him doing things only because he thinks he has to, and I don't want to be dating someone who doesn't even think twice about leaving me stranded, buzzed, somewhere unfamiliar at midnight and then only texting me like an hour later. He's still texting me, but I haven't opened those messages yet. Comments. Commenter 1. I would just reply, if you couldn't see that leaving a woman alone in a strange place in the middle of the night would make you an undesirable partner, perhaps you shouldn't be dating. And to answer your question, really, I'm no longer interested. Please stop reaching out to me. Commenter 2. If I knew you'd stop seeing me over it, I would have stayed for your Uber. Okay, but You should have stayed because you cared and wanted me home safe, not because you lose pussy privileges when you don't. Commenter 3. You dodged a bullet. If he's this inconsiderate this early on, it's not going to get any better. Cut your losses. Stories number 8. Aita, for asking my sister to give me my money back after her husband made fun of my wife's scars. My sister had borrowed money from me almost a year ago for her husband's surgery and health care. They couldn't afford it. So when my sister asked me for financial help, I was hesitant, but I helped her because she's my sister and helping her husband would mean helping her as well. Told her back then that I am hesitating, but I will help her. She said she'll return the money in 3 months, but she didn't, and I didn't ask her either, so now I brought it up again. I wasn't planning on asking to return the money, but her husband made fun of my wife's scars. My wife has small scars on her hand. It's not serious, just small scars she inflicted on herself when she was 15. I was with her back then and put a stop to it. We are 27 both, and my Bill made fun of my wife when he asked her if she's still childish and asked her to cover up her hands because it's unpleasant for everyone. Both of our families were speechless, and my wife was as well. I said when we are young we do dumb shit and he's too drunk, so he should just shut up. He got a bit more aggressive and said that it's still unpleasant and my wife should cover up. I retaliated in my anger and told him that my wife will start covering her scars when he gives me my money back. To be I get angry easily, and I wanted to insult him. My wife was holding me to stop, but I told her to shut up. I ended up telling him that he's a poor man and weak, who couldn't even afford his own surgery, and had his wife beg for money to her brother. He got even more angry, and he said he will give me my money. I said, do it right now, but you can't because you can't even walk properly. Our families were interfering and my sister was crying. I shut my mouth because I didn't want my sister to cry. Since then my sister is asking me to apologize. Because I hurt his ego and he's in foul mood and depressed, I told my sister that I will never apologize and he needs to apologize to my wife, and I asked her that both of them owe me money and I want it back as soon as possible, and I don't care if they are poor. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. ESH and you guys should stop drinking, since none of you can do it with dignity. Reply. And why exactly am I an asshole? Because I wanted to hit him exactly where it hurts for insulting my wife? That dude can't even walk properly and he's making fun of my wife about something she did in her teens? A grown man is so damn poor that he needs help from his wife's family? And he has the audacity to insult people who saved his life? Commenter 2. You escalated the situation. Repeatedly, nobody says you need to back down, but you had already made your point. And yet you kept saying worse shit. Not to mention telling your wife to shut up, which is ironic given you were supposedly in this argument on her behalf for her sake in the first place. Giving big shut up. I'm speaking for you, energy here. Reply. Yes, I did. I wanted to escalate and argue with him even more, and insult him as much as I could for insulting of my wife. If it wasn't for my sister and my wife and others' interference, I would have gone even further, but I respect my wife and my sister, so I just shut my mouth. Told my wife to shut up, yes, but I didn't disrespect her in front of everyone. I was was fighting someone who disrespected her. My wife wanted to de-escalate, but I wanted to escalate, and I would have hit him, but that dude is poor and disabled, so not really worth it to fight. Such a weak man. I am not sure what my sister sees in him to go above and beyond for such a weak turd who insults the people who saved his life. OP on being controlling and manipulative for telling his wife to shut up. Reply. You can call me controlling in this situation, yes, but you can't call me manipulative. I have never manipulated my wife, nor my sister. I have always done everything I can for them, and if they ever need my help, I help them. My wife never needed my help because I have been with her for years, but my sister did, so I helped her, only to find out that her husband insulted my wife. Telling my wife to shut up is not disrespecting her. I was quiet when she was pulling me back, and TBH, she shouldn't be interfering when I am fighting someone and stooping lower than him. I did, and I will go even lower if someone insults my wife. I could go the lowest you can. Imagine OOP responds to a downvoted commenter regarding keeping his cool and not insulting people he is trying to protect. Reply. You are a child for saying shut up, ho. Sure, I am a pause for telling my wife to shut up in anger, and we aren't even bothered by it. I can tell her to shut up and so can she, but mentioning the how part unnecessary, and if I ever called my wife, which I don't dare, she would leave me. Maybe you are accustomed to calling your wife or sister a hoe. Maybe they are and you just enjoy it? I don't know, but mentioning hoe part is unnecessary and just shows how you were raised, possibly by a hoe. And that's how your dad addressed to your mom, I think? Update. Aita for asking my sister to give me my money back after her husband made fun of my wife's scars. It's an update for those who don't want to read my previous post. My wife has some small self-harm scars from her childhood, and my Bill insulted my wife and asked her to cover them up, and when I couldn't tolerate the disrespect I asked him to give me the money I lent him for his surgery and health care after my Bill insulted my wife and asked her to cover her scars. I wanted him to pay me my money back as soon as possible. My Bill and my sister said they'll give me my money back in 3 months, and it's been a year, and still they didn't. My wife told me today that my Bill called her and he apologized to her, so I shouldn't ask for money because they can't afford it and I should forgive them. I told my wife that he's taking advantage of your kindness and he apologized to you because he can't afford to pay and he insulted you in front of everyone and we deserve a public apology. And my wife said that she's forgiven him and doesn't want the money back and they need that money more than yes. I told her to stay away from this and let me do my thing. I will ask them again and again until they pay, but my wife said she doesn't want to and I shouldn't either, and I should be the bigger person. After Bill apologized and she's forgiven him, actually I don't care if I get my money back. I am just using it to get back at him. I want to humiliate him just like he humiliated my wife in front of our families. But my wife doesn't want that. So am I asshole if I ask for my money and go behind my wife's back? Is OOP in the US and can take to small claim court? Reply. No commenter 1. Yeah, probably best to go with what your wife is asking for here. Reply. That's what I am thinking as well, and it's not I have a choice. I think I know. She's too soft, but how could she forgive him so easily after she was humiliated in front of everyone? We should retaliate, or at least she should let me, and it's been a year, and if I get my money back we could use it for trips or I could buy jewelries for her. Commenter 2. Your wife is the injured party of the words. Let her decide what happens. He should apologize in front of everyone, though since he insulted her in front of everyone, then tell him one more negative comment and the money becomes payable immediately. Consequences if he does it again. Reply. My wife isn't the only one who's injured, I am as well, and he definitely should apologized in front of everyone. And maybe if he did I would have forgiven him for insulting my wife, but it's my money and I think I have the right to ask for it, and I would have if my wife didn't stop me, but she's all about family and helping family. Her kindness and love for family blinds her so much that she would even forgive someone who disrespected her in front of our families, though our families didn't take my Bill's words as disrespect because my Bill was drunk and he's frustrated because he can't even walk properly. Commenter 3. I get where you're coming from, but your wife has said she wants you to stop and she is likely embarrassed when you bring it up. Plus, every time you bring it up, you're also reminding everyone of your wife's self-harming scars, which likely makes her uncomfortable. So if you continue to push this issue, especially publicly, you'd be in humiliating your wife. Reply. No, my wife is not embarrassed. She's had those scars when she was 15, and she's not uncomfortable. And our families know that my wife has small scars, and nobody really cares about it in our family, but my Bill, when he was drunk and is in depression, insulted my wife because of her scars. That dude has way deeper scars. After his surgery, he's poor, and he can't even walk properly, and he insults my wife for tiny scars from childhood? Final update. Aita for asking my sister to give me my money back after her husband made fun of my wife's scars. TLDR of my previous posts. My Bill, who I lent money to for his surgery, insulted my wife in front of our families about her childhood scars, and she should cover it up because it's unpleasant. I humiliated him back and I wanted to humiliate him again by making him pay, but my wife didn't want that. After my Bill made fun of my wife and my wife's insistence that I should forgive and forget about the money, we had major disagreements and we argued about it. I said I won't escalate anymore and I won't humiliate him for humiliating us, but it's fair that I ask for my money back. It's my money and they should pay, right? My wife said she wants no escalation and wants to let it go. It's up to them if they pay us back on their own, but we won't ask them to or force them like I was planning. I told my wife that we could use that money. It's ours and we could use it, but she said she doesn't care anymore. He's family and I should forgive him. I said she's angry and she wants me to let it go, so she's in charge of the money. It's her decision whether she wants it back or not, but I never want to see my bill ever again. And if he pulls something like this ever again, he'll need another surgery. On his other leg as well, I called my sister and told her that if she ever plans to give me the money I lent to her, should give it to my wife because I don't want anything to do with her or her pathetic husband. So yeah, that's about it. My wife is happy with my decision, but I am still pissed about everything that happened in these weeks. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. NTA, bro. Bill crossed the line hard. Making fun of your wife's scars is disgusting. You handled it the best way you could considering your wife wanted peace. Giving her the control over the money shows you respect her. Reply. Yes, he crossed the line. He insulted my wife in front of me, not that it matters if he insulted me or behind my back, but I saved his life. Not only his living his life because of me, he insulted my wife, and now he doesn't even have to pay me back. I get so fucking pissed every time I think about this. Commenter 2. I've watched enough daytime court TV to know a gift is a gift and can't be taken back, lol. But making comments about him being too broke to take care of himself is free game. Reply. I did. I insulted him about being broken and not being able to pay back and can't even walk properly anymore after I saved his life. And I wanted to insult him more, but I can't because of my wife. I kinda resent her for her decision, but it makes her happy. Then I will just let it go. I'll just think of it another expenses of my wife. I am sure I will never see my money ever again. Commenter 3. Lending money to anyone, family or not family, is always a gamble. We have no idea if the recipient will be grateful or not. If possible, do try to get the money back. It was a loan and not a gift. After that, go low contact with sister and no contact with brother-in-law. Reply. Oh no, I am 100% sure that they won't pay back. And even if they do, my wife will never accept it. She has always been a soft woman. Commenter 4. If it's making you resent your wife, it doesn't sound like you can just let it go. Your feelings should have equal importance to your wife's, especially since this involves your money and your family. Maybe you need to have another talk with your wife. If it were her money and her family insulting her, I would say okay, but that was your money. And your side of the family, you deserve a say, and your wife should respect you enough to let you handle your money and your side of the family how you see fit. Your wife needs to see she needs to be team you guys and not just all about letting people trample on the both of you just to avoid confrontation. Hopefully your wife will come around and you can move past the resentment. Reply. I do not resent my wife. I can't resent her, but I resent her decision. My wife has made her decision, and my opinion over hers doesn't matter to me. She wants to forgive him and wants to forget about the money he owes me. She's in charge now. If my sis and her husband wants to pay us back, they'll pay to my wife, and I will avoid confrontation. I don't want to talk to my sister or her pathetic husband. My wife will, and I hope she doesn't get insulted again. Resenting my wife or her decision or resenting the decision she made doesn't mean I will start hating her. Yes, I said I resent her for her decision, but it doesn't mean I will start hating her. I love my wife, and just because of her decisions, I will just call it quits. All this might eat me for a while, and what's Rose? Now that my wife is in charge, I am paranoid that my bill would humiliate her, and my wife wouldn't tell me about it. I am honest with myself. I want my wife to be safe, and I want her live in peace. And for her, I am letting it all go. She wants me to forgive and forget the loan? Done. She's in charge of it. She wants me to not escalate? Done. I won't. I just don't want her to hide it from me if my bill ends up insulting her, and I am sure she will in the name of family peace. Stories number 9. Aita for taking my laptop back after my boyfriend's sister stole from us. I 21F have a house with my boyfriend 22M. My boyfriend's sister 17F feels like she has the right to enter our house at any time, just because my boyfriend lives here also. So, last night around 11:30, after my boyfriend and I had already fallen asleep, his sister walks into our house, and this wakes my boyfriend up. She asked if she could take a beer out of our fridge, and he told her no. She threw a fit apparently and slammed our bathroom door. My boyfriend thought she would just leave after throwing her tantrum in the bathroom, so he came back to bed. After a while we heard our front door slam, and my boyfriend got up to lock it, and we thought that was that. This morning, while putting groceries away, I opened the drawer in the fridge where we keep our alcohol, and it was completely empty. I had bought a 24-pack of Seagrams on Thursday and only had one. So I asked my boyfriend if he moved them somewhere else. He told me no, and that his sister asked for a beer, and he said no and thought she left after I confronted her about it. And she basically told me that she used our bathroom and her friend must have came into the house and took them. This could be true, but my boyfriend only heard the door slam once after coming to bed, because the door won't close unless you slam it hard. If it was open long enough for the friend to grab the alcohol from the fridge and leave, my cat would have definitely ran out of the house, so her story was a lie to try to keep herself out of trouble. After thinking about it, I told her I knew she was lying, and even if she wasn't, she was letting her friend steal from us, and told her she was being selfish and disrespectful. She went on a rant about how I was a BTC, and I controlled my boyfriend, and wasn't family to her anymore when she said that. It made me pissed on top of how pissed I already was about her thinking. She has any right to take stuff from my house. Because her brother lives here, I went to her dad's house and talked to him about it and told him that I was sorry, but they were gonna have to figure out another way for her to do her schoolwork because I was taking my computer back since I wasn't family anymore. He was fine with this. Now she's even more pissed and telling my boyfriend that he is dead to her and telling him to get rid of me since I'm controlling. I have never been rude to her and have been there for her through breakups and thought times. But she treats me like this just because I'm upset that she stole from me. Aita Reddit. We forgot to lock the house that night and didn't really think anything of it. We can only lock the house when we are there because our landlord lost the keys. We bought a new door handle, but it doesn't fit in the hole that is in the door. So we're just waiting on our landlord to approve us drilling a bigger hole into the door for the new handle update. We got our new door handle in. I feel safe and my belongings are secure. His sister is throwing a tantrum still and disowned us as family. She sent my boyfriend and I long paragraphs at 2 a.m. last night, told my boyfriend that he never sticks up for her and always takes my side. This is the first time her and I have ever fought, and he's taking my side because he was also pissed that she was coming into our house and taking my stuff and told me that I need to grow up because I make every outing awkward and make my boyfriend into a different person. His mom agrees with this, but believes I make him into a better, happier, and goofier version of himself. Comments. Commenter 1 NTA. But why does she have access to your house? You need to stop that from happening, and if your BF is okay with his younger sister coming and going as she wants to and disrespecting you, then he needs to go. To reply, he isn't. And he's told her this, but she's a brat and doesn't listen. Commenter 2. So a minor is just wandering out at night, stealing and drinking 24 beers? Does her dad give a damn about her at all? What is happening? It's obviously not your responsibility to deal with her, but I'm surprised her dad and brother don't seem to care. If this is real, you should also secure your house properly. NTA reply. Her brother does care. He's pissed as well. Their dad says he's going to talk to her. No point in grounding her though, because she doesn't listen, and she broke her phone. So he can't take that away. Commenter 3. Definitely NTA. And if she has a key to your home, I would confiscate it. ASAP might be a good idea to change the locks instead. Reply. We don't have keys right now because the landlord lost them and we only moved in a week ago. We have a new door handle, but it doesn't fit the door. Just waiting on landlord approval to make the hole in door larger. Commenter 4 NTA. She sounds like an exhausting entitled person to be around. Your BF should step up and put her in her place as it's his sister. Reply. My boyfriend is very non-confrontational, so setting hard boundaries with people he loves is difficult. Luckily, today when she called to complain about how I was chewing her out, he backed me up. He told her that if she is going to disrespect me, she isn't welcome here and she can come around again with an invitation. If she apologizes to me. Stories number 10. I regret marrying someone from a different culture and ethnicity. I'll never admit this out loud to anyone in my real life, but I do regret marrying someone from a different culture and ethnicity. I feel ashamed even writing that, but it's the truth. The hardest part is his own self-hatred over time. Liv realized he didn't really choose me because of who I am, but because I'm white. He has said many times that he'd never marry someone of his own ethnicity. I was only 21 when we met, and I didn't fully understand what that meant. Having kids changed everything. There's no romance anymore. Sex maybe once every 2 months, and I can feel that he's forcing himself. His energy and attention all go to our kids. No gifts, no surprises. He even forgot my birthday this year. Maybe that isn't cultural, But I do feel like in his country being the devoted father is almost glorified. Like that's the whole identity of a man after having kids, and then there are his parents. If I started writing about how condescending, toxic and controlling they became after the baby, it would take hours. They are obsessed with our children. Some of it is cultural, some of it is just them being awful people. They pressure him constantly. I overheard his mom saying at least 20 times how his eyes are too small. Thank God now her grandkids have beautiful eyes just like her. It made me sick. I don't regret him as the father of my kids. He is wonderful with them, even if he's anxious about the smallest things. He does his best, and I still love him. But the cultural differences, his obsession with race, and his self-hatred weigh so heavily on me. I love our children more than anything, but sometimes I feel sad for them because of the way he talks. One time, I don't even know how the topic came up, I said something like, "People might see our kids as Asian," and he replied, "Yes, and you know that for most people here looking Asian is a bad thing. It's not something to be proud of." That crushed me. It stuck in my head for days, and I couldn't stop thinking about it when I looked at my kids. I've never seen them like that, never thought of them that way. The thought alone tortured me on the outside. We look like a beautiful family, bilingual, 2 cultures, good jobs, a stable life. But inside, I'm not happy anymore. His issues are dragging me down. I've lost confidence. I've stopped trying to comfort him. It's a lost cause. It's never good enough. It's never perfect enough. He will never be satisfied. Only our kids bring me joy and keep me going, and I'll do my best to make them happy. Comments. Commenter 1. Time for family and individual therapy. Commenter 2. This, and as a biracial person, please get your kids some role models from their culture. Clearly the family on his side is not great, but there is a lot that goes into developing a positive ethnic identity when you are mixed, especially with a self-hating parent. Reply, will do. I also speak my husband's language, and we plan to visit his country every year with them. I want them to know about China and be proud of their roots. Commenter 3. The problem isn't his ethnicity but his mindset. Tell him about it. Be clear that hating his ethnicity was already weird enough, but now it also means hating your son's ethnicity, which is understandably beyond the line for you. Commenter 4. You say he's a good father but he's going to give those kids issues. Reply, good as caring, generous, giving his best as they are babies. It's great later I don't know. Commenter 5. It sounds like you have done everything in your power to cope with the situation, except perhaps with confronting him directly about his issue in expressing concern about it. If you haven't done that, consider it as a last resort. Reply, I tell him every day the way I feel and how it affects me, and later our kids who are only babies now. He takes it as if I attack him. He doesn't admit it. We still improved, but it's hard. I'm also exhausted. I can take on a lot, but the day it will affect our kids, it will be done for me. Stories number 11. My brother lost his job as a doctor, and he is angry that I will not let him move in with me. I told my brother he cannot move into my home, and he is angry with me. But there is no way it can happen. My brother is a doctor, or was a doctor, I guess. He lost his job and he is being investigated. For fraud, I'm not a doctor, so I will try my best to explain what has happened. In my country, the healthcare system only allows a medication called semaglutide for diabetes. The cost is not covered for anything else. If someone wants semaglutide, for another reason, they have to pay for it themselves. There is no way to have the cost covered. There was a test that doctors like my brother did for diabetes. I do not know what the test is called. The person had to stop eating and drinking. Then, they would go to the doctor's office and get tested. Then they had to drink a special liquid. Then they got tested a second time. My brother told his patients to eat before the first and second test. This would give results that showed the person has diabetes. They were able to get the costs for semaglutide covered by the healthcare system. I don't know how my brother got found out. I know some of the people ended up in the hospital. But I am not sure how what my brother did was found out. He has already been told he cannot be a doctor in our country again because he misused a prescription medication. He has lost his job as a doctor too. He is being investigated for fraud against the healthcare system. He wants to come live with me. He would not be working. and would also expect me to pay for everything as well as living with me for an undetermined length of time. I said no, and now he is angry with me. But it would not work out. I live in a studio, so there is no room. I make enough money to look after myself but not someone else to. My parents live in a retirement community and are on fixed pensions. Our grandfather lives in assisted living care, so none of them have the money or the room to help my brother. He says, I am the only one who can help him. When I said no, he got angry with me and called me a bad sister. He says he used all his money for help with his legal problems and I must help. My job is an electrician, but I also work as an auto mechanic once in a while for extra money. It is enough for me. My brother said I can do more auto mechanic work when he lives with me. I do not want to do this. I do not think this is my responsibility, and I am angry he would ask this from me and blame me for his problems. Thank you for reading. Comments. Commenter 1. I'm sure he knows enough people to crash at. But you two know he would never leave your studio again. So yeah, don't let him in. You don't have the means to support him. Commenter 2. He was found out probably because when those people ended up hospitalized and they checked hemoglobin A1C levels, they figured out pretty quickly, in addition to regular glucose testing, that those patients never had diabetes in the first place. Patients probably ratted him out too about how your brother helped them cheat the system. And he was reported. Commenter 3. He needs to find a job and take care of himself. Why doesn't he have any savings? He won't be able to keep living like he did. But he should be able to get a job somewhere. Commenter 4. He shouldn't have committed fraud. The nerve of this man to demand you take on more work for him, and then to blame you for his self-inflicted situation. No, sir, good for you for setting firm boundaries and refusing to compromise your own peace and sanity for his sake. Stories. Number 12. My husband's 27M friend bought better concert tickets after I, 24F, already bought them as a birthday gift. My husband and I have been together for 6 years, married for 3. We're in our mid-20s, figuring life out, and like a lot of young couples, money is tight. Between rent, bills, and trying to build my small business from the ground up, there isn't a ton of room for luxuries. That's why, when his birthday was coming up, I really wanted to do something thoughtful, something that showed him how much I appreciate him, even if I couldn't afford some extravagant gift. He loves music, and there's one band he's been a fan of forever. When I saw they were coming to our city, I thought, perfect. This is it. The tickets weren't cheap, about $70 each. For some people that might not sound like a lot, but for us right now it's significant. It meant dipping into my business earnings, money I usually set aside for supplies and expenses. But I told myself it would be worth it. I bought 2 tickets. One for him, and one for a friend of his. I thought it would be fun for him to share the experience with someone he could really let loose with. I imagined them singing along, laughing, having a great time. That was my gift. Not just the tickets, but the experience when I gave them to him. His face lit up. He hugged me, kissed me, told me it was an amazing gift. I felt proud, like I had done something meaningful for him despite our financial situation. But then today, he called me at work, and his tone was casual, almost cheerful. He said his friend had bought better tickets, closer to the stage. So instead of using the ones I bought, they'd be using the new ones. And here's the kicker. The venue requires a ticket scan to get in, but once you're inside, no one checks. So they used the tickets I bought just to get through the doors. After that, they went straight to the better seats, which means the tickets I spent my money on, my thoughtful birthday gift, were basically reduced to entry passes. I couldn't resell them. I couldn't use them myself. They were just wasted. When he told me this, I tried to sound happy for him, I really did. I said something like, "Oh, well, at least you'll have a better view," but inside, my heart just sank, because what it felt like was, my effort, my sacrifice, my thoughtfulness, didn't matter. My gift wasn't appreciated for what it was. It got tossed aside the second something shinier came along. And it's not just about the tickets. That's the part I need people to understand. This isn't the first time I felt like my husband doesn't think about how his choices affect me. Sometimes it's small things, like making plans without checking if I had something in mind, or brushing off something I worked hard on. Other times, it's moments like this, where I feel completely dismissed. I don't want to be the kind of person who overreacts about concert tickets, I really don't. But I can't shake this heavy feeling I wanted to give him something special. Instead, I feel like I handed him something he threw into the trash on his way to something better. I keep asking myself, are my feelings valid here? Is it reasonable to be hurt by this? Or am I being overly sensitive, making something out of nothing? Because logically I am glad he'll have a better experience. That part makes me happy for him, but emotionally, it feels like I was invisible in the whole process. So, Reddit, does anyone else see why this situation might sting? How do you decide when your feelings are valid, and when you should just let something go? Comments. Commenter. 1. I do not understand the part about using the tickets you bought to get into the venue. Why wouldn't they use the tickets that the friend had? Why was it never an option for you to sell the tickets? Reply. Apparently they used the tickets, I got them to get into the venue, decided they wanted better seats, then went online to Ticketmaster and bought better seats. Since they already scanned the original tickets, they were already redeemed and not for resale. Plus, this was 10 minutes before the show started. Sorry for the confusion. Commenter. 2. I don't understand why he had to call you just to tell you that. Why do you need to know which seats their asses were in? Reply. Yeah. This pretty much sums up why I feel upset about it. Reply. Commenter. 2. Yeah, seems unnecessary. Is he usual inconsiderate? Or he just made a thoughtless choice, but not with bad intentions? Reply. He is like this with lots of things. If you are feeling like reading some more context, I have a post in another subreddit with more context on our relationship. ATM. Reply. Commenter. 2. So since your post 16 days ago, he has called to make you feel bad for no reason. What else has he done that you said he was promising to not do anymore? BC. I would bet he has broken more than one already. Reply. I was recently diagnosed with lymphoma. He told me not to worry about cleaning if I'm too weak. The next day he's upset and saying I don't contribute to the household. Reply. Commenter. 2. Do you have family you can go live with? He sounds awful. Reply. Currently trying to think this through. Thanks for your comment. I appreciate it. Commenter. 3. I don't understand why they needed 4 tickets for the 2 of them to get in. He doesn't seem like he cares about your feelings at all. Even if they did have the option for closer tickets and didn't realize until they were there, he honestly could have just gotten closer and not said anything to spare your feelings. It almost feels like it was a slap in the face. Even if he doesn't show gratitude, you should know that's a really thoughtful gift and you should be proud. Stories. Number 13. Aita, for not siding with my wife over our son's ex-girlfriend's pregnancy. Our son just turned 16, had a girlfriend, she's 16, almost 17, but they broke up about a month ago. About 3 weeks ago, we were informed by her parents that she is pregnant. She is slightly showing the dates line up with my son's relationship. My wife and I went into full panic mode. We waited a couple days before telling our son, who didn't know. He immediately said, "It's not mine, I never fucked her." I didn't believe him, as I know he is active. He did the sensible thing and asked me for protection. However, he kept on saying they never did it. He said he cheated on her. I had a heart-to-heart with him and he is an absolute shithead, but I began to believe him. He said he always raps and he has asked for restocks. My wife, on the other hand, still didn't believe him. Both families met. My wife started the conversation, just accepting that our son is the father and was trying to figure out a solution, funding, etc. My son spoke up saying it's not his baby as they never had sex. He was genuinely angry. Then he made a comment that I'm going to rephrase. Apparently they only ever did a certain act which can't result in a baby, and it was unsatisfactory, so he never went any further with her. An absolute shithead, and we raged at him over it. His ex-girlfriend admits they rarely did it, but explained the event, the when and where. And I will say it was believable too. I know he's a complete liar. I know he is an absolute dog, but I believe him still. My wife, however, is angry with me for playing into his nonsense. She said I'm part of the boy culture. She said children born to teen parents are more likely to be teen parents, and we were both 17 when my wife got pregnant. She said I'm worsening the situation by not living in reality, and she is left to figure out what to do on her own. To her point, I am hands-off on further meetings with the other family. I don't believe we should have those discussions until it's proven he's the dad, Aita. Also, this is really ranty, I'm sorry, but I needed to leave off some steam just to add, her parents don't want to do a paternity test until after the child is born. They said it could harm the baby, but apparently it's harmless, so I don't know. So we cannot get a test done before then, courts can't order one till birth. Another addition. I'm in the UK relevant. Comments Commenter 1. There's a newfangled thing called a paternity test. You and your wife both need to look into that ESH reply. When I brought up a paternity test, the other family got offended. They thought I was implying something. The family said they'll do a paternity test when the child is born. They don't trust doing a paternity test prior to birth for safety reasons. I'm no medical professional. But apparently, it's safe. Commenter 2. It's safe and is a simple blood draw. So tell them either we get a paternity test now, or you can contact us in 7 months when the baby is here. Do not give them anything including financial support until confirmed. Reply. Told them I wouldn't be getting involved until we know for sure my wife still is engaging with them. Commenter 3. Exactly this, you need what's known as a non-invasive prenatal paternity NIPP test. It's a blood draw for the young lady, and a cheek swab for your son. There is zero risk to the pregnancy, and it's 999% accurate. Tell her parents about the test, and that you will require the results before discussing finances, custody, support, etc. And this is to protect all of you. You don't have to say this, but the unspoken implication is that if your son is both telling the truth and right, which can be two separate things here, then they'll need to figure out who the potential father is ASAP in order to deal with those legal concerns. You might have to get a court order. That would suck, but I'd suggest pursuing it if they decline a NAP test. As for your wife, just tell her that there's no need for deciding between teenager, he said, she said. There's a simple blood test that will remove guesswork, easy peasy. Reply, I told them all that, as did my nurse friend. No good courts will not give an order until birth. According to solicitors, OP on his son's history of lying. Reply. I feel I know when he lies. Given he does it so often, I often see him lying to his mother, and I can tell it's a lie. And he'll admit that it is a lie. If he isn't lying, he deserves someone in his corner. Is the son's ex-girlfriend willing to draw blood for the paternity test? Reply. You can't draw blood if the mother is unwilling to do so. How does OP's son feel about doing the paternity test? Reply. He brought it up to me. I actually thought it was dangerous too, until he told me it was as simple as taking blood. Then I asked my mate, who is a nurse. Commenter 3. Do not give anything without proof of paternity. Sometimes the mere act of giving some things for baby is considered an admission of paternity. You need to get a lawyer and figure out how to work out paternity. Then maybe custody and child support. Reply. Cheers. For that advice, I'm kind of worried that my wife will do something like that. Commenter 4. Well, make sure everyone they tell knows they are refusing a paternity test that is safe, and will tell you this week if he's the father. Reply. Well, word got out and everyone believes it's his. Because they dated, I'm surprised. And how he hasn't gone off on a mad one with all the rumors. I did ask how he's coping. He said he enjoys them chatting shit, but when the DNA is done, it'll be on every school notice board, every community notice board, on his social media. And he said they can all get fucked, OP, on both his families and the ex-girlfriend's family, financial and religious backgrounds, and if they play a role for this situation. Reply. We are not vastly wealthy or anything, but we are lucky not to be on the breadline either. I'm an electrician, and there is very good money in it. Surprisingly, my wife is in admin, which pays okay too. Her family are pretty wealthy though, in comparison. So it's probably not that. They are religious. They haven't brought up marriage, but yeah, my parents and wife's parents strongly encouraged us to get married when she got pregnant. Religious reasons, we did UOP on his and his wife's reactions to their son's situation. Reply. So what's the lesson? Never date a girl. In case she says you're the daddy when he knows. I don't know he isn't, has doing the test to prove to others, not himself. At least that's how it comes across. His mother has said on multiple occasions about how disgusted she is by him continuing to lie and how embarrassed she is to have him as a son, etc. Some of the behavior she has shown, in my opinion, is shitty. I would never say I'm disappointed in him. I will tell him he's a shithead, etc. But I think that disgusted and embarrassing, etc. is strong. Like, I don't tell my wife how much respect I've lost for her over this. She has every reason to disbelieve him, but to outright reject any possibility he's telling the truth is crazy to me. And if he is telling the truth, I don't think there's a way back for them. In her defense, I don't think she's excited. I think if she was given the option, she'd get rid of the issue tomorrow. I think people deal with things differently. Some people like denial. Some people like to think, and others like to plan. And she has always been the latter. I think it helps her from going completely bonkers. No idea about my own trauma. Am I the greatest dad in the world? Definitely not. Do I see his current situation similar to my past? Right now, not really. TBH update Aita for not siding with my wife over our son's ex-girlfriend's pregnancy. Short story, text message that backs up her story. Another meeting went worse than the first. He's not coming home. Mother-son relationship F-ed. And husband-wife relationship F-ed. His ex has text messages to a friend around the time in which she discussed my son's large with a mark organ and the type of sex they had. The messages align with what she says and go beyond the oral that he had said. My wife gloated, but anyway. My wife invited them over without my knowledge. It was carnage. Our son and I were sitting on one side of the table. He told his mom that she should sit on the other side, and he wouldn't start a conversation until she moved over. She eventually did. Our son was very quiet at the beginning. He admitted he has the mark and is large, something I never needed to know. But he maintained it was just oral. He started winking at his ex's mother. When she asked why he was winking at her, he said, "Your husband is gayer than Philip Schofield, so I'm sure you'd like a go on my large." He turns to his ex's dad, says, "Philip, his name is not Philip. It's not for you," followed by a gay slur. I was speechless at it all. My wife said to my son to stop denying it. My wife started planning again. I said I'd still want DNA, preferably now, but immediately at birth. They stuck to birth. My son spoke up. He said that this is not how this is going to work. He told them that they get the test done now, or he will refuse to get tested until he's finished college. So 6 years' time approx. He said courts won't expect maintenance from a kid. And in that time, the slut who gave birth to him, my wife, will have spent so much money and will love a kid that is unrelated to her. He said hopefully that spirals the slut into a very dark place. They said they just court order it. He said a court cannot force him. Some autonomy thing. He seemed confident, and turns out he's right. He was walking out and his mother grabbed his arm to come back in. He said, "Get your dirty hand off me, you salad." He said he'd fight back if she didn't let go. I told her to let him go. He said he was staying at a friend's. He's been staying there a bit. I went out and said I'd drive him. He agreed. In the car journey, he said he knows I don't believe him anymore, but he didn't fool her. He said school is horrible, social media is horrible, and your wife, he didn't call her mum, is a bi-atch. I said you can't speak about your mum like that. He said she's a woman that gave birth to him and minded him. That's all he said. She doesn't care how he is coping. She's never even asked. When we got to his friends, he cried a bit. He said it's nothing to do with me, but he won't be home much anymore. He said hopefully I'd still hang out with him. I know his friend's father from the pub. He started talking to me. I was gonna give him money because my son is over there a lot, but he refused. He said my son told him everything. He's a counselor. He said girls can exaggerate to friends. Boys can lie. He said he knows my son since he was tiny, and he believes him. He also said he might have more information than I do. No idea? He warned that we are going to lose him if we are not careful. I went home. I told my wife if she so much as says one word to me or our son about the baby without a test being done, we are over. If she doesn't apologize to our son in the next few days and beg him for forgiveness, we are done. I sadly do mean it wasn't heat of the moment. By her reaction, I think we are done. I do love her childhood sweethearts, but my son is my son. It is not a matter of believing him, I probably don't. It's a matter of being there for him. He was always a shithead, but his behavior is erratic, and almost asking for help. It's worrying how quickly he has changed. He is the priority. For me right now, counseling and plenty of it. Relevant comments, commenter 1. I'm glad you're standing up for your son, and you are realistic that the baby could be his, but it may not be. I'm also glad you've told your wife what the situation is and what needs to happen. She's entitled to her feelings, but she needs to worry about her child before she starts to worry about a baby that may or may not be related to her. Stand firm on your limits and your decisions. Please keep us updated. Reply. Thanks. I don't think there'll be another update if I'm honest. I think I'll be moving out. Getting a place. Bringing our son to my new place. I'd say he wants a new school even. I always asked how he was, but I don't think I realized how bad he's feeling. Parenting failure on my behalf. I hold my hands up. Hopefully he'll change his mind and do the paternity test when it is born, but I don't know. Commenter 2. You can get a DNA test during pregnancy without harm by choosing a non-invasive prenatal paternity test (NIPP), which involves a blood draw from the mother and a cheek swab from the father. This test is safe for both the mother and the unborn child, as it uses free-floating fetal DNA from the mother's blood, unlike risky invasive procedures like amniocentesis or chorionic villus sampling CVS. So why won't they do the DNA test now? Why not just put the entire argument to rest with proof? Reply. You can't get that done without the girl's permission. They won't do it. They have this weird thing that it might hurt the baby. But it's just blood, is there? A possibility that the ex-girlfriend knew who is the father? Reply. Maybe she does know. I also wouldn't put it past her parents to just not believe the doctors. They are upper class but kind of strange. Strange is probably the wrong word. Commenter 3. You are coddling him. He is awful. He needs to be in counseling, but the crap he was spewing, including thinking any college would want him, after her parents inform all colleges about his behavior, is shocking, cruel, and speaks to him being involved with something either internet-related or something he is learning either from you or from friends. Edit. Also, your son would not be a kid while in college. Why does he believe that he just gets to slide for 6 years? And then call a girl he willingly had sex with names, as well as his mother? And you are backing this? Reply. We are in the UK colleges. Don't work the same way. I fully admit I'm coddling him. I think he needs to be coddled. He also needs counseling. But even his friend's father hinted he needs to become first. Right now, Ope needs to get his son into emergency counseling immediately, as there is a chance that the son might do something to himself. Reply. That has crosses my mind. His friends' father said he'd keep an eye and keep talking to him. But honestly, it's why I feel I have to move out. He's struggling. I'm not defending him. His behavior is ridiculous, but he needs support. And as you say, a metric ton of counseling OP on his own background with his wife, and if it has played a role with his son's issues. Reply. I've been with my wife since we were 14. Love her to bits. She has been the best thing that happened to me. Not inkle my son. I'm not divorcing her. But we do need to separate because my kid needs me more right now. But she's a great woman. On top of that, I believe my son's ex. Those messages, although not proof, is still proof. To me, I think his language is atrocious regardless of what is happening. I've known my wife since we were 11. Dated at 14. Married at 18. She's the only woman I've ever been with, and she's the only woman I want to be with. We have been through miscarriage, cancer, PTSD, teen pregnancy, and whilst I'm not glad we had through that, I'm very glad it was her I had to go through it with. Those were the bad times. The good times were great. I love my wife. She is a great woman. Best friend. Is there any chances that OOP's son isn't his child? Reply. My own mother did a test on my son years ago when he was like 1 or 2, unbeknownst to us. He's mine, all right. Also, he's the head off me now. How is their son's situation affecting OOP and his wife? Reply. I also have separated from her because I didn't like another meeting being sprung like that. Honestly? Yes, I think. She should put our son first. That doesn't mean she has to believe him, although I still don't think he should be dismissed outright or empathize with the other side. But she couldn't even ask him how he was given the clear bullying he's getting. His own mother couldn't find it in her heart to ask, and this was before he ever called her a cell percented. I also don't think it was appropriate in that meeting to talk about his manhood. It was irrelevant, given both of them admit she at least saw it. I think it was disgusting that 3 adults discussed it, etc., etc. She's not showing, I love you, but I'm disgusted. I'm disgusted, and it's normal that she is disgusted, but I still think he should be shown care. I don't think he's an incel. Given he's certainly not celibate, I think there's definitely a misogyny issue there, edge of the SLT comment, the cheating, etc. How deep that runs is something hopefully a counselor can assess, but it isn't looking good. Do I like my son right now? Sadly, no. Do I love him? Absolutely. Stories number 14. Aita for moving out of my house because I've had enough. So I've lived with my parents up until the age of 23. Now I know that's late, but I live in an Indian household, and usually you don't move out until you're married. Now I don't mind this, or I should say, I wouldn't mind this if that house wasn't a total hellhole. There's a total of 8 people living in that house with only 3 rooms. My dad decided that we should bring our grandparents to this country, and he hasn't told me why. I have to share my room with 2 adult cousins who decided to immigrate to this country to get a better job, but they don't seem to want to move out anytime soon. And let's not forget that it's so loud. I'm a nurse, and when I come home, I like to relax, but I can't. When there are 2 very loud people entering and leaving my room whenever they feel like it, with no courtesy of being a little quiet. So I decided I had enough. I searched for an apartment near my workspace and found a rarely nice 2-bedroom apartment. I told my parents I'm moving out, and they flipped. My dad started yelling at me that I'm not married yet, and it would be rude for me to move out before I'm married. My mom started crying, telling me how could I just leave her like that. I tried to ignore them, but they kept trying to stop me. So I told them that I just can't live in a place where I don't get any respect. I've been living in my apartment for just a little over a week, and let me tell you that this was the best decision I have ever made. My brain is no longer exploding from being in such a loud house because I get to control the noise that goes around in my apartment. I can't believe I didn't move out sooner, but my relatives keep telling me that my parents are heartbroken, especially my mom, that I don't care about their feelings. How am I supposed to care about their feelings if they can't understand mine? But I won't lie, I am feeling just a little bit of guilt for leaving out of the blue. Did I make the right decision? Was it okay for me to do that? Edit. For those of you asking, no, I will not be giving them a spare key because that would literally turn my life into hell. They already know my address, but the apartment complex is gated, so they can't come in without my say-so relevant comments. Commenter 1, NTA. If she is that heartbroken, she can kick the cousins out so you can have your room back. Reply. That was actually the first thing I mentioned. They shrugged it off, saying that they've only been working a few months and need time to settle. But I think they've had more than enough time to do that. Commenter 2. NTA. You need space and quiet. Firstly, because you're your own person. And secondly, because you're a nurse in this pandemic, they should doubly respect you for that. Try inviting your parents, specifically your mom, over to your new place. That might help her feelings. Reply, thank you for this wonderful advice. I'll try speaking to them personally in my apartment and show her how much better I'm doing since I moved out. Commenter 3 OP. That's terrible advice. Don't let them know where you live. Yet they'll drop unexpected every chance they have, and it will be like being at your folks all over again. Reply. They know where I live. It's a gated community with a watchman part of the reason why it's so expensive. And if they try to get in without my say, so they'll be charged with trespassing. They know this and wouldn't dare try to enter, because in Indian families, getting arrested is worse than dying, at least in my experience. Commenter 4. NTA. There are cultural differences at play here. Your parents are obviously still abiding by Indian cultural norms, and you are more aligned with norms in the country. You immigrated to IMO. It's perfectly all right to say you need more space and quiet, if the crowded conditions are impacting on your work and your overall well-being. Reply. I would say that it was affecting my work because I had to get my out-of-hospital work done before I got home. But now I can calmly do it in the comfort of my new apartment without any problems. Moving out has helped my mental health in so many ways, and hopefully my parents are willing to see how much better their son's health is. Commenter 5 NTA, you have a right to live your life your way, just as they had a right to make the decisions they did in their lives. I understand your feelings, and that fact that you are feeling guilty, to me shows that you didn't do it out of disrespect or to spite them. Your guilt is coming from a place of love for them. Of course you don't want to hurt their feelings, and that's why you feel bad. Continue to love them and do the best you can to mitigate the way they feel. You may not be able to change their minds on your decision, but you can continue to show them how much they mean, and that you love them. Allow them to have their opinion. Stand by yours. Congratulations on a milestone in your life, and thank you for the service you do in your job. Reply. Thank you so much for this comment. Yes, I do love my parents, and I hope they can see that moving out has truly helped me, and my mental health in so many ways that even therapies could not. I'll have a talk with them soon, and I'll update you guys if anything happens. Update ATA for moving out of my house because I've had enough? Well, some time has passed now, and I can't say that things have gotten better exactly. I invited my parents over to my new apartment, and had a talk with them about how this apartment is the best thing that's ever happened to me, and I don't plan on moving back into the old house anytime soon. They remained calm, but after about 10 minutes of talking, they suggested something that I hoped they would never suggest. They suggested that I let my cousins, who were a massive part of the reason I moved out, move in with me, because, frankly, there's no room left in the house. I never thought that I would do something like this, but after they suggested that, I exploded. I yelled at them, saying that they should have thought about that before I was forced to move out due to my mental health deteriorating. I told them that they are never allowed to move in with me, and I don't have any room for them either. They yelled back, saying I'm being way too disrespectful, and I should watch my tongue around them. My mother started tearing up, but I don't care about that anymore. All the guilt that had built upon me for moving out had disappeared in that moment. I had them leave, and told the watchman to never let them in without my approval. So yeah, while the situation did not at all get better, the guilt I had in my heart and mind from the last post is now completely gone, because I've realized that Indian parents care not about their children's health, but their status in their families. Cousins' parents suggested they move in with me, and they agreed. More info about cousins' age from OOP. They're 25M and 34M, and I'm 22M. 34M has 2 daughters back in India. 25M was chill, and he sided with me, but couldn't say it in front of my parents. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Good for you. I know things didn't completely work out for you, but frankly, your health and peace of mind is far more important than sharing your space with others. Enjoy your newfound freedom. Commenter 2. OP. You are wrong that your situation didn't get better. It absolutely did. It's your apartment, your food in the fridge, your acceptable noise levels, your TV, your mess. Enjoy it, and don't look back. Commenter 3. Buy the book, Emotional Blackmail by Dr. Forward on Amazon. The You're Disrespectful and fake tears are all manipulation tools. They are not the authority over you. You are the authority over you. Good for you for escaping such a toxic environment. Commenter 4. They yelled back, saying I'm being way too disrespectful, and I should watch my tongue around them, or what? They'll kick you out. Oh wait. Commenter 5. Part Indian here. Indian parents care not about their children's health, but their status in their families rings true. In non-westernized Indian families, so much importance is placed on how they appear to others in the community. They are mostly upset on how your actions are making them look. Stories. Number 15. I sent my boy to school, happy. He came home in an urn. My boy died. Yes, he was emotional. He was sensitive. But those are not crimes. Just need to get thoughts off my chest. The sadness is forever suffocating, especially in the nights, especially when the world is silent and asleep, especially in festivals, when people are happy and yet despair chews my heart away. My family was happy. Now it is broken. The siblings lost a dear brother too. They cried for months. July 2024. I said my last goodbye to my boy. He went off to school, went through some fact-finding disciplinary process for a supposed wrongdoing. He did singled out to a conference room, questioned by teachers. He cried 3 times that day. He did not pull through emotionally. Took his life after school, falling 16 stories down. Just 13 minutes after dismissal. Covered in blood, organs ruptured, 14 fractures, cried in pain, laying in the arms of a pastor. He was declared dead. An hour later in hospital. I cooked lunch for him. He was late. Hospital called. School called, rush down. Dead discipline is important, but tears are important too. He was only 11 yo. He deserved to live. Emotional distress ate him up. Too young to properly cope. His teachers told us he appeared okay after his different crying episodes stopped. Cameras captured him crossing a traffic junction. His face was very sad. How I wished we had been told earlier when he was singled out from class. How I wish we had been told earlier when he cried. How I wished he had been seen by a counselor. How I wished we have been told to come to school and fetch him home safely. How I wish when we post suggestions for better emotional care in school to teacher communities, we do not get blamed, and my dead child blamed that it is his own problem or ours. I was not seeking blame. Simply hope to advocate for the sensitive ones, so that my boy's life is not lost in vain. Teachers are overloaded after all. We understand. But emotional care is important too. How I wish this is all a dream which I will wake up from. That he will return one day, happy and smiling. We still have so many years together, unspent. We were supposed to go pet shopping after school, went to morgue and cremation instead. So many nights I dream of him alive, only to wake up to a deep sinking feeling in my heart, a realization. It's all a dream. Why can't the world be kinder, more compassionate, have more empathy for sensitive kids like him? He had good conduct through the years, topped in science and math, helped his friends, took care of his siblings, well loved by classmates, introverted, sensitive, yes, but he wasn't a bad egg at all, and yet, all left of our child now is his ashes in his bedroom, his soft toys on his bed, and his memorial blog. It unfair, so unfair. The world continues. I can only stand still and cry. Nothing to bring him back, can only blame myself. Should have brought up a more hard-hearted child. Instead of a softie, he was normally so chill. No one saw it coming. Wrote this post to help relieve the pain, even if it's just a little. For a little while, at least he is heard in death. Thank you all for helping through this difficult journey, even though we are thousands of miles apart from one another. Disclaimer: this post reflects our family's personal understanding of the events surrounding our son's death. We do not claim to present an official account, and we acknowledge that other perspectives may exist. Our intention is not to assign blame or make any legal claims, but to share our experience in the hope of encouraging positive change and greater empathy for children's emotional well-being. Comments. Commenter: that's fucking tragic, dude. I'm so sorry. I can't even fathom how devastated you and your family must be. I hope none of you ever have to go through something that painful, ever again. I wish you the best. Stranger commenter 2. I have been a high school teacher for decades, and very little shocks me anymore. But the way your son was treated by teachers and administration is shocking, hurtful, and despicable. Normally, I would suggest filing a complaint with the principal, and if that didn't resolve the issue, I would escalate it to the superintendent. However, there is nothing anyone in the school district can do to remedy this. The damage is done, and it's permanent. Your son died, and I am so terribly sorry about that. I suggest that you get an attorney to discuss filing a lawsuit against the school district and, perhaps, the teachers and administrators that were involved in the harsh and inappropriate treatment of your son. Write down every single detail that you can remember with dates and times. Be as specific as possible. Keep all correspondence from the school, and take screenshots of any text or emails. Also, take screenshots of the dates, times, of phone calls the school made to you about this situation. You can contact the state bar in your state for attorney recommendations. You may want to meet with several attorneys to see what they recommend and choose the best one for your situation. I'll finish by saying that I have exclusively taught juniors and seniors in high school for the last 20 years, and I would never chastise and humiliate a child the way your child was chastised and humiliated. Treating an 11-year-old child this way is Horrific and inexcusable. My heart breaks for you, commenter. 3. When someone loses a parent, they're called an orphan. When someone loses a spouse, they're called a widow. When someone loses a child, there is no name for them because it is simply too horrific. It is a loss that defies words. I am so sorry for your loss, and I hope one day you can find peace. Update in a comments. I'm so sorry. It was an emotional day today. Some days are better. Today's bad. Maybe my heart got better of my head today. My boy is gone. Blame and legal will be many. Many more years of tussle and pain for me, for his siblings. His story thrown under institutional scrutiny and legal technicalities. Instead of understanding and empathy, more pain, more uncertainty. I need to take care of his siblings too. Can't go down that path. I can sacrifice my life, but I can't screw up theirs in a way. I empathize with teachers too. Hundreds of children daily, not an easy task. Just wished, really wish, processes can improve to be kinder, more compassionate, more understanding, more empathetic, more clarity on when counselors should be called in, and cries alerted to parents. It's hard though, when teaching is such a stressful career too. I have worked with Relevant to suggest improvements to processes. Not just one school, but for schools across the board. Reached out to many NGOs too, local and global. Failed to save my child. But hope his life and his message will bring awareness of emotional distress and help prevent such for other children in the world. For the sensitive ones, the soft-spoken ones, just that some days, the emotions wash over again. Like today, it was a bad emotional crash again. I try to stay strong, stay positive, just hope the world can listen. What else can I do? I don't know. Cry TV talk to my friends. Bring the surviving kids out. Maintain normality at home. Ensure they are always safe. Increase their mental resilience. Instill grit. Tell them if anything goes south anywhere, just come home first. We'll help them together, eagle eye on them every day, and pray every time the phone rings. Phobia is always there now. Stories number 16. Should I tell my best friend and her husband that his friend tried to come into my room on their wedding night? Need to vent. Hello everyone. I just got home from a destination wedding, and I find myself in quite a dilemma. My best friend got married to her now husband. The ceremony and the dinner was great, as well as the party. At the dinner I was seated next to one of the groom's friends, who at first seemed like a normal nice person. I was the maid of honor, so he was asking me a lot of questions about me and the bride. I feel like he might have tried to get close to me, now that I think about it, and I honestly ended up avoiding him at some point. Well, it became 2 a.m. and time to close the party. I helped the couple pack their gifts, and then I headed to my room. I was one of the lucky people who got to have a solo room. Now it's 2:30 a.m., and I'm removing my makeup. Suddenly I hear a knock on the door. I think it might be the bride or groom, so I open up. After all, my friends and their families were the only people staying at this small hotel, so I felt no earrings about opening the door at 2:30. The groom's friend is standing there in the hallway, and asking me if he can sleep in my bed. I'm shocked. So I ask why, and he says that he can't sleep in his own room. I ask him why again, but he won't answer and says to me that he won't try anything with me, which was alarming to my gut feeling. Because why would you need to announce that if you have pure intentions? I refused to let him in, and smacked the door shut. The next morning I was forced to sit next to him at breakfast, because all other seats were taken. He did not say a word to me, which I'm happy about. I didn't want to ruin my best friend's wedding night and morning, so I kept the incident to myself, but I don't know if I should tell the couple. Should I say something now, or wait to after the honeymoon, or not say it ever? The bride, my best friend, would be disgusted with him, but won't be able to do much since he's her husband's friend. The groom would either laugh it off and say that he just likes me, or he would literally become extremely mad and feel disrespected by his friend. Chances are that I won't really see this person again, but I don't know if I can keep this from my best friend, and I feel really disgusted and angry at this man. And the fact that he would be able to get away with it. Comments. Commenter 1. Absolutely tell her. This is not something you should keep hidden. If your bestie knows, she can hopefully make sure you and this guy are never at the same event again. Commenter 2. Wait until after the honeymoon when they are back. It was an uncomfortable situation. However, brining it up while they are enjoying their time together doesn't help anyone or solve anything. You can bring it up casual once she's back. Oh my XYZ, a bit of a chancer. He showed up at my room at 2:30 a.m. creepy. Just to let her know you won't be wanting to hang out in future. No matter how unlikely. No point raising it to her husband if he's going to brush it off. Let your friend know to help avoid future encounters. If he had have forced his way into your room, then it would be a much more urgent situation. Reply. Yeah, I was thinking that if I was to bring it up, I would do it when the bride has time to see me in person and have one-on-one time with me. After all the wedding stuff, so there is no misunderstanding, but it's just hard. Because I don't want to make things worse for no reason. Commenter 3. I'm not sure why you would not tell your best friend. I'm not sure what he did other than shoot his shot and miss widely. He didn't get aggressive or give you a hard time the next day. It doesn't seem scandalous, just embarrassing for him. Commenter 4. A drunk guy hit on you, got rejected, then went away. Okay, tell your friend about the non-event. Stories number 17. Aita for making sure my sister and brother have what they need with some extras, but not doing the same for my step and half sibling. 20 meter have a brother, 50 and sister, 14F, who still live with our dad. I'm no contact with him. Reason being my dad is an ass, and getting away from him was the best thing ever. He's a gambling addict who cost us everything when mom died, who was happy and celebrated mom dying because he thought he could pay off his debt, but instead couldn't scratch the surface, and forced us to live in a one-bedroom apartment where he got the bedroom, and the bed me and my siblings had to sleep, on the couch and in sleeping bags. When I was 14, he married a woman who was either just bad with money or was a gambling addict too. I never gave a shit about her, so I didn't pay enough attention to figure out which one. Money was even tighter once. They joined households, and she had a kid younger than me and my siblings who'd be 11 or 12 now. My dad and this woman had a kid a year after they got married, so that was great for two already financially drowning people between the two of them. They must have close to $1 million of debt. If not way more by now. College was never going to be an option for me, so I got ready to do training instead. When I moved out, I got an apprenticeship that allowed me to make some money while I was training. Wasn't a lot, but helped. I shared an apartment with strangers for a while before moving in with friends when they decided we should get a place together. As soon as I was making enough money to afford rent and extra, I was paying money into my brother and sister's school lunch accounts. I was sending them a little money via prepaid cards too, so they could afford food if that was ever an issue. I paid for a couple of field trip things their schools wanted them to do. My dad likely knew and didn't care because he never stopped them going. When my siblings said things got worse 3 months ago, I sent more their way, and I and some other family reported dad and his wife to CPS. CPS offered resources but did not want my siblings removed to live with other family. It was a month ago when dad took my sister's phone, and he started calling me saying my brother and sister were better off than my step and half sibling, and asking why I wasn't taking care of all four. I stopped taking calls from her phone because of this. But he kept asking me why I wasn't making sure the other two were okay. And did I realize they had noticed and felt pretty bad about themselves, because nobody did the same for them. He told me I get to live with being a person who picks kids deserving of help. I do what I do because I love my siblings and I honestly don't give a fuck about the other two. Even the one that's half who shares my blood, I never loved them or saw them as siblings. I'd do anything for my brother and sister in a heartbeat I have, by making sure CPS knows when it's getting worse. But AITA for not doing the same for the other two? Comments. Commenter 1 NTA. I am pretty sure he will just take most of the money himself and gamble it himself. Same for his way. NTA. All the way. Reply. It's what he did with our Social Security after mom died. He hasn't so far taken it from my siblings, but they're really careful, and they don't leave those prepaid cards at the house. Otherwise, I'm sure he'd steal that. If he could, he'd withdraw money from their lunch accounts too. Reply commenter 1. Make sure that your siblings are careful with it. If he is in almost $1 million of debt, who know what he could do? Consider buying a lockbox for your siblings to put their cards into. Because I do not trust your dad. Reply. They have people who keep the cards safe for them. A lockbox might not work with their ages. I think you need to be at least 18 to access those. Or you need an adult or something, but I don't live close enough to help them access the cards every day. Commenter 2 NTA. You're doing more than him and his wife combined. The gall of the man for even calling with that guilt trip when he's unwilling to provide for any of his kids? You're doing the right thing, and you're not even obligated to do that. You have no obligation to extend yourself to the additional siblings. It's a sad situation, but they have 2 parents, and just because neither of them can find their ass from their elbow, doesn't mean it falls on you. Instead of calling you, he should focusing on doing better at human ing NTA commenter. 4. NTA, you are being a good big brother. Sadly your dad is apparently doing what he does best, which is be a piece of shit. Reply, he'll never change. What sucks the most is I know we all hoped for a while that he'd stop doing that to us. But we let go of that idea because it was so obvious he was never going to take care of his kids. It's been years since Mom died, and he doesn't even try. Stories number 18. I just moved, and a neighbor putting up flyers accusing me of being a child molester. I am not. So I moved into a new neighborhood in August. Shortly after I moved in, flyers started appearing on utility poles, etc., alerting the residents that a child sexual predator has moved to the neighborhood. The flyer contains a cropped screenshot of the person they are mistaking me for's entry on the sex offender registry. We do share a name, but that's it. My name is not uncommon. I'm not Joe Smith, but I am not Eusebius Cadmarinius either. Either way, the person posting these is definitely aware of the fact that it's not me, as they cropped the offender's mugshot out of the screenshot and replaced it with a picture from my LinkedIn profile. I have looked up not me's entry on the sex offender registry, and he's a fat white guy in his 60s. I am an average build mixed dude who looks black in my 30s. And to be clear, while there's no such thing as a minor sex crime, this guy is on the registry for forcible rape of a child under 13 or something. Along those lines, I spoke to the police as soon as I found out about the flyers via my wife, which must have been a fun surprise for her to see when she was walking home from the train. They basically said, "That sucks. But how do you expect us to find out who is putting them up?" I was confronted by a neighbor yesterday. Luckily, I bookmarked not me's sex offender registry page on my phone, and the guy who confronted me was level-headed enough to immediately apologize. He knew who was putting the flyers up, gave me the guy's name, and described him as kind of a conspiracy nut. Great. The abundant misspellings and caps for emphasis on the flyer should have tipped me off. Anyway, I have no interest in confronting this guy myself, because there's a very low chance of the interaction ending in any manner that involves all of his teeth remaining in his head. I called the police again, and this time their take on it is more or less, well, being wrong isn't a crime. Just keep taking the flyers down when you see them and try to ignore it. This was last night. Ignoring this isn't an option. I am planning on going to the department in person today when I get back from work. Has a crime been committed here? Or is my only remedy going to be civil court? I feel like this is way beyond the standard type of libel that might fuck with my ability to get a job or something, as there's a non-zero chance that this kind of bullshit could lead to a vigilante type trying something. I've got something of a hectic day at work, otherwise I would have gone in late to get my ass to the police department earlier. So I might not respond here right away. But if any more information or clarification is needed, I'll get to it as soon as I can. Thanks in advance for the help. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. A rare case of defamation per se, where no damages are needed since LAOP is falsely accused of being a criminal. Bonus points for the police either not knowing or not caring that NY Sex Offender Registration Act Section 168Q makes misusing the sex offender registry a crime. So this is not just civil court stuff. Not even going to pile on the fact that the person making the posters actually photoshopped LAOP's picture over a totally different person's sex offender poster, making it trivial to prove they knew this was a false accusation. The only tricky part is proving who is putting the posters out, though hearsay is not admissible in court, and the cops refuse to investigate. Commenter 2. The only tricky part is proving who is putting the posters out, though hearsay is not admissible in court, and the cops refuse to investigate. A warning about the consequences of misusing the sex offenders list, posted on the police Facebook page with a direct reference to the present situation, could be enough to stop it. At least it would alert neighborhood. To what's going on, reply, I'm the OP from the original legal advice thread, which is now locked. The guy who confronted me was incredibly conciliatory after I showed him the actual sex offender registry page. We exchanged contact information, and he offered to help me clear things up. I didn't get specifics, but it seemed like his knowledge about who put the posters up was firsthand. So I am going to reach out to him about speaking to the police or testifying. Depending on how this goes, comment hi, OP from the original legal advice thread here. The hectic day at work I mentioned in that post was about 10 times worse than I expected. So I just got a chance to pull it up a few minutes ago and found it locked. I am a long-time lurker and knew about this subreddit, so I was able to find this. I wanted to thank everyone for the great advice and reply to a few things I saw. Reddit is making me wait roughly 10 minutes between posts, presumably because this is a brand new account, so I am going to reply to a few things I saw on the original thread and a few people on this one in this top-level comment to avoid the waiting game. First off, a bunch of people mentioned potential difficulty with collecting a judgment if I go the civil route and this dude doesn't own property. The north half of my block is all apartments, most of which are rentals. The south half, where I live, is all single-family houses. I don't know where the person hanging the posters lives, but I don't care about making a buck off of this. My preference is, by far, to avoid any civil litigation in favor of handling this through the police if at all possible. But if I sue this guy, I don't care about collecting, to be blunt. My wife and I both have reasonably high-paying jobs, so if I were to sue this guy, it would be more about extracting a pound of flesh or forcing him to deal with a judgment hanging over his head. I know it's petty, and I am not normally the vindictive type, but in this context I am perfectly content to be an asshole about it. Commenter 3. Leop said he was mixed and appeared black. I'm wondering if that has something to do with it. Crackpot conspiracy theories and bigotry are often correlated. One of the first things my wife said about the situation was that she wouldn't be surprised if this is related to the fact that the only black guys she's seen on the block since moving in are me and a maintenance man in one of the buildings down the street. I try to avoid jumping right to assuming that negative interactions with other people are rooted in racism. But unfortunately, I am proven wrong on that more often than I care to admit. And the fact that racism and conspiracy bullshit tend to go hand in hand. Yeah. Commenter 4. And if OP's wife is of a different race, that usually adds a lot of animosity in a racist bigot's mind. My wife is white as the driven snow. She's actually Jewish. And if this is rooted in the standard brand of conspiracy whack job racism, it's a good thing this asshole doesn't know about it. Commenter 5. All legal avenues aside, if this were me, I'd be going around putting up my own posters acknowledging that I'm aware of what's going on and making it very clear that it isn't me. Include my picture and the actual sex offender's pictures side by side and a link to the registry if anyone actually cares to write it down and check for themselves, and finally a notice of intent to sue for defamation. He's not wrong in thinking this could lead to some serious vigilante actions against him if it's not nipped in the bud as soon as possible. This is fantastic advice, and I will definitely be putting my own posters up. Thank you for suggesting it. Anyway, I'm heading home in 2 or 3 hours. I mentioned this elsewhere, but the guy who confronted me was very conciliatory once I showed him the actual sex offender registry page. We exchanged contact information, so I am going to reach out and see if I can count on him to help with identifying this guy. As his knowledge of who it is seems to be firsthand, I'm stopping by the police department when I get home. So we'll see how that goes. Again, thanks for the help update. This will probably come as an anticlimactic update for some people, as I won't be pursuing any sort of legal remedies to the situation, either criminal or civil. I'm gonna make up names this time around instead of describing my interactions with somebody to identify them. On Friday night, I got in touch with the guy who had confronted me and backed down when I showed him the actual sex offender registry page. Joe, turns out he's on the co-op board in the Flyer Guys Steve building. Steve has a sister Ann who is around his apartment pretty often. Joe ran into her on Friday afternoon and told her about the situation. He asked me if I'd be willing to grab a cup of coffee with the two of them before getting the police involved. I agreed to this, and we met up on Sunday afternoon. So as it turns out, Steve is actually pretty sick, well beyond anything along the lines of the standard racist conspiracy theory type. In fact, racism isn't a part of it at all. He believed that I had ties to the whole Epstein situation, which to him would make it easy enough for me to change my appearance, and promised me that he's nothing like this when his meds are working, and apparently they've been less than effective of late. She'd brought this up to someone involved in his treatment, and they had planned to address it, But she didn't realize just how bad things had become. I have a close family member who has an illness that has resulted in a few episodes of psychosis. He's one of the kindest, most thoughtful people I know 99% of the time. But it's been physically dangerous to be around him during his psychotic breaks. So I feel for them. Anyway, Steve is currently receiving inpatient treatment to get back on the right track, and will be attending a partial hospitalization program after his release to make sure that his meds remain effective. Joe wrote a letter about the situation, a copy of which is going to be delivered to each resident of his building. He's also reached out to members of the co-op boards that he knows in a couple other buildings on the block, and they've agreed to do the same. Anne is going to post copies in the same locations Steve had been putting them up, and slide copies under the doors of the single-family houses on my side of the block. She's genuinely incredibly apologetic, and I don't see any reason to push the issue with law enforcement or in court, provided Steve is getting adequate treatment, so something like this doesn't happen again. So yeah, all things considered, while this isn't necessarily a happy ending, I'm glad this guy's getting the help he needs, and that there are people who are willing to step up and help with clearing my name. All in all, the resolution has made a greater impression on me than the issue that necessitated its development, and I feel like I picked a pretty good block to live on. Thanks again for all of the advice, and apologies to anyone who had their justice boner killed. Stories number 19. My brother's wife used my miscarriage story in her baby announcement. Really don't know what to make of this. Maybe it's not a big deal. Maybe I'm still too raw to see it clearly, but this feels wrong. Background. I had a miscarriage last year. It was awful. It was early, but it still completely wrecked me. I told my immediate family after it happened, because I needed support. Some were great, others said the usual, everything happens for a reason crap, and moved on. Whatever. My brother's wife is now pregnant. Her first. We're not super close, but we've always been polite. She knew about my loss, but we've never talked about it directly. Well, she just posted her big baby announcement on Instagram. It was one of those emotional caption deals with pastel fonts and staged photos, all normal, until I hit the part that knocked the wind out of me. After watching someone close to us suffer the heartbreak of losing a baby, this pregnancy has felt even more like a miracle. Excuse me? She never said my name, but I know she's referring to me. There's no one else in our circle who's gone through that recently, and it was shared with the family. She just inserted my grief into her post like it was a plot point to make her own story hit harder. Wasn't even tagged or warned. I only saw it because my mom sent it to me with, "Isn't this beautiful?" And now I feel like crap. I don't think she meant harm. I really don't. But I'm sitting here wondering if I'm allowed to feel upset about this, or if I'm being too sensitive. It was my loss, my pain, and she used it in her announcement for likes. So AIO, is this as messed up as it feels to me, or am I just overreacting? Comments. Commenter. 1. Bruh, that's mad disrespectful. Like, yes, your SIL is excited, but using your loss to highlight her happiness? Major red flags for me there. IDC defo, not sensationalizing your pain for IG clout. If you ask me, you're not overreacting. Your feelings are valid. Maybe talk it out with her. You got this. Reply. Thanks for saying that. Seriously, I kept second-guessing myself. Like maybe I was being too sensitive or selfish, but yeah, it really did feel like my loss was used to make her post more emotional or inspiring. And it just hit me in a weird way. I'm not sure yet if I'll say something, but I appreciate the validation. It helps more than you know. Commenter 2. Dude, you ain't overreacting. That's some next LVL tone-deaf action there. Her pain ain't for her IG clout. You got every right to feel upset. Might be worth having a chat with her ABT, respecting boundaries, and be like, yo, not cool. Props to you for dealing with all this crap. Reply. Thanks. I really appreciate you saying that. I've been questioning myself a lot, but hearing others agree that it crossed a line is helping me feel a bit more grounded. I'm still thinking about whether to bring it up with her, but setting boundaries might be necessary. Thanks again for the support. Commenter 3. I don't think you are overreacting for feeling like this is weird and intrusive. However, it doesn't seem like you and your sister-in-law are very close. As someone else not very close to their SIL, I am not sure how you can be so certain that she is talking about you. Miscarriages are pretty common. Off the top of my head, I can think of 4 of my close friends who have had miscarriages that they told me about, but my SIL would have no idea. I do not talk to my SIL about anything other than light conversation at family parties, and the same is true for her. I guess I just am not sure how you can know it's not about another female relative, friend or cousin that she is actually close to, as it doesn't even sound like she watched the heartbreak. You didn't even directly talk to her about it. I just don't see how you or anyone can really know for sure that she is referring to you, given how tragically common miscarriages are. I would try to work through my feelings on my own. Although I do really understand why you feel upset if you can't let this go, I would talk to your brother about this and let him know that if it is about you, then you do not appreciate this shout-out even without name, then you can go from there. Stories number 20. Aita for not wanting to help my sister with her abusive relationship this time. Sorry for the repost. Realized I left some context out of my first post, and it wasn't letting me edit it and I accidentally deleted it. Mods, take down this post if you must. I received a phone call from my cousin and am emotional and wanted to add more detail, but fucked up the edit. So I am 28 and my sister 26. We were both raised in America, but our parents are immigrants, and when left the country 9 years ago after my sister graduated HS to retire in our home country. My sister has a BF, who I will call Jared. Jared was very abusive to her, and used to beat her, etc. My sister did not want to leave him. She was 19 at the time, and it was tough, but I got her out of there, and we filed a restraining order against him. She was 21 when it happened. I do not think she is a stable person, and never thought so even growing up, and she is not a good relationship partner. Not that she deserved Jared at that point in time. I genuinely think my parents gave her the princess treatment and spoiled her. She expects every partner to put her on a pedestal, and she can do no wrong. Anyway, when she was 22, she wanted to date my best friend, Mark. I told her to leave him alone, and told Mark he could do better, to be perfectly honest. But she pestered him and me, and Mark said since I am his homie, my sister cannot be that bad and I may be biased. Warned the dude, but Mark and my sister got together, and were in a relationship for 18 months. She cheated on Mark, and went back to Jared. Her excuse for cheating attacked some physical insecurities. Mark and I was very disappointed, and told her that if she went to the guy that beat her, I would never help her again, 'cause getting her out of that situation was hell, and she cheated on a perfectly good guy and broke him in the process. I told her she can break up with Mark. Whatever. I think it was a mistake, and she did it in a terrible way. But she cannot have a relationship with me if she wants to be with a dude that literally abused her. She chose Jared. 'Cause he changed. I cut her off entirely. Mark is a homie, and he turned to alcoholism, but therapy got him out of it. It's been 2 years. Mark still struggles with insecurity. He has never once held it against me, and encouraged me to not let go of a family bond for his sake, but I made the choice. I see the dude, my homie who took care of my dad when I wasn't there by his side for a surgery recovery, a man I consider a brother, struggle to this day because of her. He has not been on a single date because of the way she attacked his insecurities and cheated on him. It makes me seethe when I think about the way she treated him. Worst part is he did everything right. Remember all the anniversaries, gifts, cooked for her and paid the bills, while she did nothing, planned a family with her. She threw it all away like dropping a glass vase and left him shattered. I am forever grateful he didn't judge me for her actions, 'cause if a woman treated me that way, I don't know if I could ever look anyone related to her in the eye again. Anyway, around last week, lo and behold, Jared was being abusive to her, and my parents called me and begged me to help her. She has nowhere to go, and she should crash at my house. I said no, hung up, and haven't picked up my parents' phone call either today. My sister showed up at my fucking workplace. She had a black eye, bruises everywhere, cuts, etc. It was a horrible sight to behold, to be honest. I almost felt like throwing up seeing her like that. She then made a scene begging me to take her home to my house. I looked like an asshole to everybody at my workplace. She was begging me not to abandon her, and that you are the only family in this country that she has. I took her outside and tried to calm her down. But ultimately, I told her she is not staying with me. She started making a scene, falling to the ground and clasping my leg. I kinda lost it, and started anger crying here. In the parking lot, where people could see me from work, I told her to fuck off, and that I would call the cops on her and ask the building to get her trespass did. If I could, I was bluffing here. I fucking left her there, and turned around. She walked away on her own, IDK where she went. After 10-15 minutes, awkward-ass situation she put me in, and I had to explain at work. They all think I am the asshole for not helping her out. But my boss knows my situation. My boss is Mark's cousin. He was the connection that got me the job, of course. I am asshole to people at work, and to people in my family. My parents want to remove me from the will for leaving her bruised, and not helping her in a parking lot. Cool. They can go ahead and do that. Not like I need anything from them. My female cousin all think I am a monster. My other cousin, a dude, lives in Canada. He is preparing to come down here to help her, but he is not in Canada right now. The earliest she can get help from him is a week from now. My mom and dad are recovering from something and are under strict orders not to travel, but they want to break that and travel anyway. We will see anyway. My cousin, he called me a few minutes ago and blasted me for being a POS and said I can't let my sister suffer like this. None of these fuckers know what I have been through. I have TMJ from getting my jaw decked by Jared. I can't fix it with Botox. I need invasive surgery if it gets worse. He showed up to my previous place of employment when I took my sister in the first time, and made a scene that isolated me socially. I risked everything, had to threaten him with a weapon once. If he called the cops on me, I could have jeopardized my career with something. She ruined my best friend. After I begged her not to go after the guy. And after all of it, she still chose him. Fuck me and everything I did for her. I was 23 years old. I was fucking scared too. Jared is 2 years older than me. My parents fucked off and let me handle everything, just occasionally visiting her. I don't consider her family anymore. I don't want to help her IDK what to do. I don't understand how my family or anyone can think I am in the wrong here. And it may seem brutal, but after everything, she can sleep in the bed she made. I know it's not right, but I feel like she has brought this on herself just 'cause I am her older brother. I am tired of being expected to deal with a literal fucking criminal. I know I am coming on here for validation, and would appreciate validation, but I think I just need to know it straight. Am I in the wrong here? Relevant comments. Commenter. 1. You're not heartless. You're just done bleeding for someone who kept handing the knife back. Protecting your peace after years of chaos isn't cruel. It's necessary. Reply. Thank you, man. It seems like everyone who didn't want to help the first time around wants to chime in and say how I am wrong. She went back to him after everything he fucking did to her, and even me. Why am I expected to undo the choices an adult made? You don't understand how validating it is to hear someone understand that I have to put myself first. Thank you, man. Commenter 2. It really sucks, but you have to look out for yourself. One thing I learned in therapy is you cannot be someone else's life raft. You just end up drowning with them. She made a stupid decision to get back with him. Despite you telling her the consequences, she has to live with that. He might kill her, but there is no guarantee. He won't kill you too. Should you choose to intervene again, I would wash my hands of it. And maybe I am total asshole, but I could live with if she got herself killed. Wouldn't feel she deserved it because no one deserves to be a domestic violence victim, but I am also not collateral damage for someone else making dangerous and shitty choices. I would honestly block all the relatives that say you should help her. Tell them to go help her or shut up. NTA Commenter 3. As a past abuse survivor, NTA, if it were me, would I help her? Yes. But after what you've been through already, I can't blame you for not wanting to put your job, your safety, and your health at risk. She made her choice. And ultimately, you don't have to set yourself on fire to keep her warm. She is a perfect candidate for a battered women's shelter. A lot of times they won't take people in unless they are being abused. Well, she clearly, visibly is. The question you need to ask yourself is, if something terrible happened to her, would you be able to forgive yourself? I don't say this to manipulate or guilt you, but to ask you to sit for a bit and process and think about the worst case for her and how you'd feel, and the worst case for you if you do decide to help. Good luck. Commenter 4. NTA. And I say it as a victim of abuse. I say it as a daughter of woman who was horribly abused. You trying to help her won't do shit. You will only risk your own well-being. I am done with Reddit crying and saying that you should put your own ass at risk again. I would never let my brother to be at risk of my abuser. Don't you dare. Taking this dumpster of fire back in again. Screw Mark. It's about your own safety. Commenter 5. Nah, it usually takes a woman multiple attempts to leave an abusive partner, if I remember correctly. The average is 7 attempts. Abusers have a variety of tactics to draw on, and They'll use everyone to keep control that said, "You're under no obligation to keep risking yourself and your friends to pull her out, especially after what she did to Mark. I don't blame you for closing that door. I hope she gets away and stays away. But you do not need to be a part of it. You warned her before update. So the events in the previous post occurred 2 to 3-ish days ago, and some stuff has happened since then. And since I posted it as well, first of all, thank you for the people who understood what it was like and told me I shouldn't have to clean up after another adult. That was so validating to hear. I know the tide changed a bit after, but I'm putting myself first for the first time in my life. Some clarification first. Just 'cause Mark's cousin is my boss doesn't mean I can slack. Mark's cousin connection helped me land a stage 1 interview. I had to go through 3 to 4 rounds of the interview process like every other applicant. It's just that the company usually hires internally for my position, but I was able to come in externally. 'Cause of Mark's cousin, I only got the job after the guy they initially hired jumped ship for a better job at another company. IDK why people assumed I can skate. By at my job plus Mark and his cousin aren't tight, and his cousin is straight-laced and direct to the point. So after the fiasco at my workplace, where I gotta make a living, I'm chill with the security guards. As per my boss Mark's cousin's suggestion, I handed the photos of my sister and her description to building security so that they can make sure I don't get harassed next time, and they can threaten legal action and trespassing if she doesn't heed to warnings of not crossing into private property. I live in a gated apartment community, so I followed through with the same thing with the leasing security office for them. Sure enough, the next day, she tried showing up to my apartment complex and using my code to scan in. I gave my code to my parents just in case they visit. They must have leaked it to her. She was escorted away, but she must have thought she could have just waited at the door. Unfortunately, it was hard to hear, but she was kicking and screaming and begging them to call her brother, and that I still love her for sure. Oh man, it fucking hurt to hear. Did a number on me, suffice to say. This blew up even more in the family group chat. You got security to chase away your sister, etc. I'm legit getting threats. My mother sent me a long-ass text about how she should have aborted me, or prayed for a fucking miscarriage lol. 1 minute they're angry, I'm ignoring their calls. Next minute I deserve to have never been born. And somehow I'm the bad guy still, BTW anyway. Mark didn't know about any of this. She showed up to his workplace the same day she came to my apartment. Mark was respectful but said he couldn't help her due to his mental health. He said he would try to talk to me. And yeah, he talked to me and told me if I'm punishing her for what she did to him, it's not needed and I should just help my sister out. I kinda broke down and cried, yeah, I know, and told him. It's not that it's just me putting myself first. I'm tired of having to be the one to clean up after her mess always. He understood. As for my cousin, who was supposed to come to help her, lo and behold, guess who suddenly got some work when he realized he would have to provide financial support or a place to stay for her. That's right. The guy who criticized me for not helping has ghosted the family. My dad is not able to visit due to some reasons, and my mom, unknown to me, guess they never wanted to mention it, is actually immobilized in her leg from a partial stroke or something. What it is. I just know it's something. She can't come 'cause she can't move and can't afford to miss PT sessions. Had to find out through a second fucking cousin who also called to berate me. So it's hinging on my dad now, who's also old and unable to travel 'cause of some paperwork issue or something. Once again, I'm not being kept in the loop here. I feel horrible about all of this. I hate Jared and hope he's brought to justice. But I am in line for a promotion at work. I may be able to get my dream role. I'm putting in extra hours. I can't afford to throw away my life or endanger everything I built for her again. 'Cause even if I throw everything away to help her, I can live with it if she's fine, but she may just go back to that fuck again. I'm putting myself first. My friends have been shocked, but supportive. Only they get me, since they saw the initial nuclear fallout I had to deal with. When 'cause it's not an if anymore, my family cuts me off. So be it, I'm okay without them. They've done nothing but make me a scapegoat for all their issues beyond this too. Their entire life. I hate those parasites. Anyway, thanks for letting me vent, guys, and sorry for not having a more positive update. Hopefully my last update on the situation. I want to just live my life and focus on myself. Relevant. Comments. Commenter 1. Next time your sister shows up, can you just drop her off on a bus train back to your parents' home? Then she'd finally be their problem. reply TBH. I don't even want to see her. Plus my parents live across the Atlantic back home in their home country. I don't even think my sister would survive there, 'cause neither of us know our native language, and we've never been there, and also she's in a terrible condition, bloody. Beaten, bruised, black eyes swollen shut. Cuts literally, has gashes over her body and on her lip, etc. I can't bear to see her like that. It makes me almost throw up. She looks like she's been in a boxing ring. It's horrible. The last time I saw her like this was when I had to get her out the first time. I fear if I see her once more, I may not have the strength to walk away and make the right choice. So for my sake, I can't see her anymore. Commenter 2. Agree with the commenters below. You're handling this way better than most people would, and I'm glad to hear that your boss is good with you. He had the right idea about giving her picture and description to the security desk guys there. Any way to clear your name with some of your colleagues? Is there someone in your workplace that you trust, that you can take out for coffee and explain it all? Get their help? Reply, nah, my name's dragged through the mud there. I'm competing against another lady for the promotion I mentioned. And she was very quick to hop on this and call me a patriarchal, misogynist, among other buzzwords. A lot of people are on her side. She's always controlled the social scene among the desk jockey management like us, thankfully. She was confirmed to be out of the running behind the scenes, and it's just me and another lady. She's nice and didn't hop on it at all. She just does her own thing always. My bosses and corporate don't care about behavior, only results. IDK why she thought dragging my name in front of them would help her in anyway. When I've exceeded her quarterlies by a minimum of 17% every quarter. Since I've joined, she's older than me and has worked longer than me, so I figured she would understand how soulless and ruthless corporate is about caring about results only. So I'm not sure what her move was. If I get the promotion in a couple of months, which seems likely, I'm gonna transition slowly and become full-time at the corporate HQ on the other side of the country. No point is engaging in drama trying to clear my name now. As long as the people in charge of the decision know the truth, I'm okay with it. Commenter 3 NTA, you helped her once? Even though it put you in danger. It's hard to help. People in abusive relationships, especially when you are put in danger, and there is a chance they could go back to the abuser again. It's a difficult situation, but she needs to file a police report and seek assistance from an abuse organization. Reply. According to her conversation with Mark, she thinks it's prudent to not get the police involved, and she just wants to go, live with family, and put Jared behind me. I'm of the opinion that if she truly cared and wanted a way out, she would want to bury that asshole under the fucking prison. For what he does to her and has done to me, I don't think she will ever leave him, TBH. And when Mark told me that, it kinda sealed the deal for my slightly wavering mind. Commenter 4. Are you familiar with the golden child dynamic? I'm probably reading too much into several of your comments, but it sounds like there are two problems coming from your parents. One, your sister can do no wrong and must be supported, catered, and deferred to in all things, the golden child. And two, you are required to be the one to fix family problems. No one else will put in a tenth of the effort they expect of you, the scapegoat. If that's the case, it might well be time to step back from your family. Maybe talk to a therapist, spiritual leader, or trusted friends. Find your peace. Reply. Oh my God, this is what it is. My parents have always had a soft spot for her, 'cause she was a preemie and they thought she wasn't gonna make it the first few months. Thank you. Didn't realize there was a name for it. I've always had to be the older brother, and clean up after her and always put up with anything she does. I still love her, but I just don't have it in me anymore. Probably gonna do therapy. 'Cause even though I feel like I made the right choice, every time I close my eyes, I still see her bruised. I'd think it's definitely fucking with me more than I like to admit. Commenter 5. Hey, maybe this has been asked, but why haven't your parents sent for her? She cooked, go live with them and help them maybe? Reply. So my parents retired to our home country. However, her and I were born and raised in America. We've never been to the old country and can't speak our native language either. Normally, this is something that you can adapt to, adjust to over time. However, in her words, not mine, she thinks the motherland is a shithole country, and she would never set foot in that shithole. My parents have always catered to her needs, so even now post-retirement, they always come to see us. I've never gone to see them either, 'cause they usually come and see me after catching up with her. Basically just an extenuation of her self-hatred internalized racism, emo, is why she can't go back there. I think she would legitimately prefer this situation than to stay even temporarily with my parents over there, which is why she's never taken them up on their offer. Final update, I'm a bit numb. I didn't think I would make another update. But things have happened on Sunday. All I know is, or heard from family, was that my sister went back to Jared and worked things out, and didn't need help last night. Jared's sister, who is also my sister's BFF. I put it in quotes, cause no real BFF would allow their friend to stay with an abusive partner, even if it's their brother, showed up randomly. She was cordial and said, things have changed, and that my sister sent her, long story short, unknown to my family and I. Jared had been cheating on my sister repeatedly, and yeah, what a shock, totally out of character. She was disappointed, and he denied it. She had the smart idea that getting off birth control, lying to Jared, and baby-trapping him would fix their relationship. The reason she was trying to get away from Jared and didn't want the police involved was that she wanted to tell him in a safe space and go back. After he calmed down, he was beating her cause he didn't know why she was trying to leave. Well, she ended up telling him on Sunday in the presence of Jared's sister, and he surprisingly didn't get mad and hugged her and said, "It doesn't matter, I've always wanted a family," and promised to change for their little miracle. My sister also sent a letter with Jared's sister confirming everything. She wants me to be their little miracle's godfather. A letter from Jared too, apologizing for the past and to forgive the dad of my nephew or niece and be one family with them. Deadbeat. Thinks I'll hand over cash. I suspect I sent Jared's sister out in a nice and respectful manner and told her I would contact my sister when I felt like it. I sat down to process this news and called my family. After unblocking them, 2-hour conversation with my dad, and the biggest worry for him was something along this. That kid will be slur for an illegitimate kid if it's born like this, and taint our bloodline. I'm coming over and getting them married, so that we don't have to dishonor our lineage. No mention that she's having a kid with an abusive POS, and she doesn't work, and Jared can't hold down a job. When I mentioned that, he said, "It's okay, I can send money whatever happened. Too late now. Help me fix it," instead of being pessimistic. Of course, they'll pay for their angel and their Angel's grandkid. I'm totally numb. I feel like the only sane person. Apparently Jared said, "I hope she's a daughter who looks like her mom," and it made my sister swoon. I'm in fucking shock. These assholes are bringing life into the world like it's nothing. I'm not a religious person, but I do consider the act of bringing life into the world as sacred, and not something done so callously. My sister's inability to protect herself was one thing, but knowingly bringing in a kid to be raised in that fucking toxic environment? I have lost all respect for her. It's fucking insane. And my family doesn't give a shit. They don't care if their grandkid is abused, as long as that grandkid is legitimate. What the actual fuck is wrong with these people, man? I told my friends Mark and the others I took off work today to sit down and process this shit. It's one thing when she makes mistakes, and I get dragged into it. She's not understanding her craziness is going to impact an innocent fucking child that didn't ask to be born into this shit. I'm so goddamn clueless. IDK what to do. When I told my folks, they said, "Well, she doesn't want to abort it or anything. Are you willing to take care of your nephew?" No, man, I don't want to take care of the kid because I got my own life, but I also don't think that bars me from criticizing her choices. What the actual fuck? They can't raise the kid either, because they're a bunch of old fucks. I just wanted to get this off my fucking chest. I know I cussed a lot. I apologize. I'm dealing with the fact that reality is presenting me a nephew-niece who's gonna be born to grandparents that value the kid's legitimacy over the kid's life, a mom that's obsessed with its dad, an abusive deadbeat dad, and an uncle that doesn't know how to and probably might not be able to help, especially if I move for work, and the fact I've never wanted kids to begin with. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Stay away from the whole mess. You can't fix it. You can't help someone who is purposely making awful choices. Just go NC with everyone? To save yourself the heartache. It gets worse from here, but at no point will it be your responsibility. Reply. I am determined to cut my family off, but my heart fucking aches for her future kid. Poor kid. Didn't ask to be born into this clusterfuck, man. I hate her so much for bringing a kid into the mess she got herself into. This is so fucked. She's literally told me about how whenever Jared babysits his older brother's kids. He plays rough with them. I'm worried about the kid. My parents, her and Jared, can all fuck off, commenter. 2. If he does, she will deny he beat her and likely accuse OP reply. This is my cause for concern with this option as well. My friends have told me not to make any decisions without consulting a lawyer if I do go down that route, so I will be contacting a lawyer if I choose to get involved in this capacity. Commenter 3. It's too late now. She's pregnant. You can't do anything about the choices that adults make. It doesn't matter how bad you think the situation is because you can't make them see. All you can do is focus on you. Stories number 21. Wibta for telling my family they can take my brother in if they think family should help family. Not going into minutia. People hate it when I talk too much. Can't be different. Written me. 37 mem, it's me. Husband, 36, accountant. Love him too. Bit son, 13M, student. Average kid who doesn't like my brother. I'm trying to learn anime for him. It's an uphill battle. Brother, 32M. Not a member of the household. I want it to stay that way. Situation. My brother got kicked out of my would-be SEL's house. Reason? You don't talk shit to your buddies about a scary lawyer and expect her to never find out. The ask. Family wants me to take him in since we have an extra bedroom. We usually use it for my parents when they visit. Plus our house is big. The problem? You give brother anything? You might as well say goodbye to it forever. Toys, clothes, money, you name it. You're only seeing it again if you sneak into his room and take it. The fear. The second he steps in, the only way he leaves is if I chase him out with the metal bat I found in the basement when I moved here. He doesn't have a job. I don't want another kid to take care of. One is quite enough. Thank you very much. Also, every conversation he has with my son becomes an intervention. We said no. He is not getting a foot in. The bigger problem. Family says we should help my brother because he's family, and family should help family. We are saying no still. They have not stopped. Question. Wibta for sending family messages of, you think family should help family? I think that's a great idea. You should do it. And only ever saying that when they try to bring it up? Edit. Holy Johnson. This blew up. I talked to my husband and we wrote a modified version and sent that out on mass blast. We'll update y'all in a week or possibly later with the outcome update. Preliminary address. Thank you for your time and advice. Reddit. Your advice and care for my son has been so lovely. Be ye genuine. Or be ye spectators awaiting the next chapter in an entertaining story. I appreciated it. Didn't tell husband and son. The statement. Husband helped me write this in a professional-ish way and contacted Joe's Nighthawk ex, who is a lawyer. Nighthawk hasn't officially taken a case, but we thought she would be able to help us write a serious-sounding letter by giving pointers and revising to add gravitas for the sake of readability. I will give people fake names. I will use Smith for a fake family surname and Joe for my brother, just for readability. Lower your pitchforks, for I am not going to subject all of you to the same letter we sent to our family group chat, but I will share the ending. If anyone feels strongly that Joe needs a place, our door is not the one to knock on, but yours absolutely could be. We fully support anyone in the family opening their home to him and showing how family support is done. We love you all, but we're not sacrificing our home stability to prove our loyalty. That is our final word on the matter with love and boundaries. OP and family. If anyone wants the full letter, request it in the comments. I feel like I'm already pushing it with post length. The after effects. The communications assault ceased after 2 days of us turning it against them. No one has threatened to burn bridges or exclude us from family events. They tried to use the bad family card, but we just played it back at them, accusing them of being bad family. I underestimated how much people can just spam it. The secondary incident. We may have dodged a big bullet. I really don't like going on too long, but I don't know how to make this shorter without making it blander than unseasoned. Unbuttered rice. Before this, we talked to the police, and thanks to my hubby's connections, they knew the situation in the event Joe broke in and tried to claim residency. We made it clear, Joe is not a resident in any capacity, and we don't want him in the house unless we invite him. We are on a weekend trip to my in-laws' place, who are very much just the loving aunties and grandmas. They are non-drama people and respect boundaries. Yesterday, I get a call from my parents saying Joe got into trouble with the police. Fortunately, he was not arrested. And he was not harmed. Apparently, he showed up to our house at night, and he tried to get us to let him in. But no one was around. But he tried harder. Neighbors called the cops because they didn't know who it was, and thought we were being robbed. Cops showed up, and I don't know everything, but my mom told me that the cops told her that he tried to claim residency. But that was false, and they knew. And then Joe told the cops he didn't have a home. The cops told my parents that either they could pick up Joe, or they'd get a shelter and other services involved. Parents ended up having to drive to pick him up late at night. And now Joe is crashing on their couch. Other news. Joe's ex, Nighthawk as I called her before on my past post, bite me. It works. And my husband are still friends, and says she's never taking Joe back to her nest. Joe might have lost a lover, but son didn't lose, and aunt's son is doing okay. It's still an uphill battle to understand anime, but he likes the effort I put in. He said he was happy he didn't have to live with Joe. I didn't tell him about the concern you all showed for him, but I think that's fine. Probably safer this way. Conclusion. Family now has to put their money where their mouth is. Joe is fine, our asses are covered. We're fine and safe. I'm sorry if this is too long. Tried to make it brief, but I couldn't.